Jonathan Taylor, there he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
The Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Good morning, and 2026 just keeps getting better and better for you IU fans. Football, basketball, pretty good game last night for Indiana, getting a win over Oregon, celebrating the 1976 team. Special announcement all day long yesterday. We'll tell you all about it as we wind through a warming Tuesday. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton. Good morning, guys. It didn't feel like it was the Antarctic this morning when I got out of my car. I don't know. What do you think? Better?
I'm pretty pleased with it, I must say.
Wait, how long before you start walking in the couple of blocks to work?
Never. I worked a lot of hours to get that car, so we'll be driving in even when it's sunny.
Good morning, Kevin Bowen. On a night for history down at Assembly Hall, the Hoosiers stepped up and played pretty good basketball last night. What did you think of the late start and the late game last night?
Yeah, Lamar Wilkerson heating up the state, right? I think he's going to allow for the snow to melt a bit here. Late start, obviously I hated. I will continue to reiterate if it's on the channel and that game goes to overtime previous, why can't we press the button that takes us?
Ooh, I didn't know you was taking us to church this morning, Kevin. Preach.
Preach that game, FS2. I don't know if everybody has FS2, but nonetheless, honestly, if you wanted to miss any part of the game, you probably wanted to miss the start because that was the only time Indiana didn't absolutely flamethrower it. Incredible. Lamar Wilkerson is one of the greatest scorers to ever put on an Indiana uniform, and I try not to say that with hyperbolic state. I know he's only going to do it for 1 year, but name me the last player that has looked like this in one season in Indiana, particularly from a shooting standpoint. Last night, 41 for him. And, yeah, just fitting, with so much history in the building last night that Lamar Wilkerson would do that.
Yeah, it was one of those nights. There was a play in the second half, James, where Wilkerson's over there on the left wing, and there's a guy right up in his face, and he just kind of does a little something with the basketball in air without even dribbling, and with a guy probably no more than 6-8 inches away from him, just goes up over him, and it's nothing but net. That's the kind of night it was.
It was looking like JMV on Sundays at Southport, but I do think he is a special scorer, you all. And when I was watching him last night, I was thinking to myself, one, IU has kind of found a groove now. I think they've really built a solid resume to the point of making the tournament now. I haven't checked the latest bracketology, but I think they're probably in. Given how they started the season, though, I was like, wow, it's quite the turnaround. And then on top of that, with Lamar Wilkerson being the flamethrower that he is, as Kevin called him, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is a team that could spoil a few marches for a few people and how they perceive their teams. Like, I could totally see IU playing like this, upsetting someone in the NCAA tournament or in the Big Ten tournament, because when you have a guy who can, get you a bucket at any moment like Lamar Wilkerson can, then the sky's the limit for your team. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go on some crazy run, but, man, they could certainly ruin a game or two for another opposing program.
Well, that was a big night down at Assembly Hall, and kind of fitting, don't you think, Kevin, that Indiana honors the 1976 team and they're all out on the court. At the same time, Arizona becomes one less undefeated team in the NCAA this year.
So we will have the final, head coach of an undefeated team left in college basketball. Join us on the show tomorrow. Travis Steele will join us here in Miami, Ohio. They don't play till Friday, so they are the last undefeated team. The Darren Peterson story continues.
How we feeling, Kevin? Because I ain't gonna lie, I'm starting to tilt a little bit. Like, wait a second, dude. Like, what is going on?
I feel like every other human being I run into right now has the flu, so maybe benefit of the doubt for Darren Peterson here.
I had it a couple weeks ago.
But
yeah, you and I were knocked out, so what can we say?
I was just bummed, frankly, last night. I was like, we're going to go a little double screen action here. We're going to get Darren Peterson. Yep. I mean, that atmosphere last night in Allen Fieldhouse
was
was
gosh. I was so jealous not
peak
being there.
College basketball, just absolutely unreal. Shout out to Flory Badunga, 23-10 for him. He was outstanding. And yes, Arizona now, as we thought at some point in February, gone from the unbeatens. So Miami, Ohio, the Red Hawks, Travis Steele, the local kid, 9 o'clock tomorrow, he will join us. Rick Carlisle, 8:30 today. And speaking of coaches, speaking of Indiana, Tom Crean at 9, right, Mark Dykton? Is that correct?
Correct, 9 o'clock.
That's great. I will say this. Every time I watch Flory play, I remember watching him at Newcastle when he was in high school playing for Kokomo. And this kid went to the basket to shoot a floater, and Flory jumped and just grabbed it out of the air. Like Dwight Howard, or like Wilt Chamberlain or something, or Bill Russell. And so the block last night that he had, it made me think of that play, because if you're one-on-one with Flory Badinga, you need to create so much space to get a shot off, because he can move his feet, he can jump, and on the replay, I mean, he just erased that shot. And now I'm looking at him like, wait a second. I get that he's more of like just the rim running big, the defensive threat, but you can get paid a good amount of money in the NBA just running the floor, playing defense, rebounding, and blocking shots. I get that it's a more skilled game, as they say now. He won't be shooting threes anytime soon, I don't imagine, but he can still be a very serviceable player at the next level. I think he's proven that this year, because he's gotten a lot better from the player that I saw even just a couple of years ago, where he's more athletic than everybody, but now some of the skills catching up as well.
Guys, watch any of the Olympics yesterday or last night?
I did watch a little bit of it. Again, I don't always know the events, but I feel like whenever anything goes off on Peacock or whatever, I turn the TV on. I'm like, all right, let me just check out what the country is up to, and then I get little snippets from Zach Kiefer, my colleague on the ground out there.
I did catch quite a bit of the women's hockey team getting a win over Switzerland yesterday.
Yeah, that was impressive.
That was they're going to be. I don't know what the rest of the world looks like, but I think Switzerland's supposed to be halfway decent, and the United States just solidly put them away over time. Just solidly put them away.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we got a lot going on with that today. I know that they're getting started already. They're doing training today for the women's doubles luge, which Mark got all of our followers all worked up about yesterday. What was that all about, Mark Dykton?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Disturbed.
You're talking about the doubles luge that I volunteered you and Kevin to do at some point?
Yeah, I opened up Twitter this morning, and there were all kinds of mentions, so I followed the thread. Did you see the picture he posted and suggested you and I go lose doubles?
I am all in today at noon. It is one of the more electric sporting events we'll have in 2026. It is for a curling gold medal. I'm shocked that you rattled
Watched
off
that last night, too.
2 minutes of Winter Olympic talk and didn't mention Corey and Corey. They are everything we need in the United States. It is incredible to watch. The throw, the toss, the roll. I don't know the proper lingo. I apologize. To knock out the Italians yesterday.
That was a good match.
On home soil, the defending gold medalist was electricity. Corey, the male Corey, again, they're both named Corey. The male Corey, his fist pump was a la Tiger 2000. It was just, and the amount of juice that went through my body was reminiscent of when Greg Rakestraw said to me, should we buy Notre Dame basketball season tickets a few weeks ago.
Did you celebrate with one, watching them?
I went nuts. 12 o'clock today, the gold medal match. First ever medal has been secured in mixed curling. They will go for gold today against the Swedes. They already beat the Swedes in the group play. So a little nervous about how, can you beat a team a second time?
In the same season? Are we using the college football analysis?
All the
does
lingo
that apply?
applies, and hopefully
Big third down here,
hopefully
Kevin?
it's Kurt Signetti against Oregon all over again there across the pond. So 12 o'clock today, nothing better than daytime sports.
I do want to mention this on a more sad note. We got the update on Johnny Furphy yesterday from the Pacers. He did indeed tear his right ACL Sunday in Toronto. He's out for the rest of the season. It ends his second year in the NBA, and when
James
you look
is
at
really yanking the wheel here for my curling.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I figure we should probably fill in some of our early listeners before you get to work and things like that. So unfortunate news there for Johnny. I guess if you're looking for a silver lining, young player, got a long off season to get ready, and hopefully he's ready to go at some point next season. But just another blow for the Pacers on the injury front. And yes, I understand they want to lose games, but clearly, I mean, anybody with a heart or brain knows that you don't want players to get legitimately hurt while you're trying to lose these games. So, just prayers up for him, and I know it's going to be just a tough, I guess, mental thing to come back from. I don't know if it's like this first major injury, but we're rooting for him.
Yeah, and I would also add this too, James. I don't. Yes, there is a level of obviously tank and losing, and hell, last night was a great night, frankly, in the NBA for the Pacers.
Yeah, for sure.
You had a lot of tank teams win last night. but Furphy's development is in a different category.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
like him and Jarris Walker.
You want those guys to play.
They are in a different category of no. They need minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes. And Furphy, you could make the argument more than just about anybody really on the roster. So I think, that just kind of adds to all of this, because when you think about next year and what your rotation looks like and how vital depth is to the Pacers, getting on runs and things like that, Johnny Furphy is potentially a big part of that. And now, he obviously isn't going to be back until some point next season. So again, Pacers back-to-back, Knicks and Nets. I try to combine the two there. That will be the back-to-back here before the All-Star break. So Rick Carlisle, 8:30 today. For what it's worth, Ivica Zubac is listed as questionable. I did see his first day in Indy was with Eddie White. Is that really the best mode of action here?
Oh, don't be doing Eddie like that.
Jeez,
Eddie will make sure you're not ready for game time.
Man, that is quite the
shout out to
welcome
my
to
guy.
Indiana. And I do have to laugh. Whenever you make these trades with like other players, you have to treat the other player like they're the all-star too. Like, James, can you name the other Kings that were in the Tyrese Halliburton trade?
Boy, I think the only other one I can name
Buddy
is
Hield
Buddy,
in that one?
and maybe Tristan Thompson.
I was going to say, wasn't Tristan Thompson in as well?
But that's also because he was a Kardashian at the time. So
like you have to parade Kobe Brown around like he's Zubac's,
hey,
best friend. Or hell, Kobe Brown might be playing some minutes now with
sometimes
Johnny
it's not
Furphy
about who you are, Kevin. It's who you know. I mean, I would love to benefit from all the things that you all have given me. I had a guy comment the other day. We wouldn't know who you are, James, if it wasn't for Kevin Bowen. And I was like, you're darn right. I love my friends.
Mark, we have some Rick Carlisle audio on the rising king in media over
King
here.
Of all media, James
just to
Boyd.
feed the ego a little bit here on this.
We're just
Tuesday
here to
morning.
build you up, James.
Oh, so you're not saying I'm not the throw-in piece?
That would be me. Kobe Brown would be me at your award ceremony coming up this summer. You would be Zubac, and I would be Kobe Brown. I'd be like, James, no.
I think he just
sit in this
invited
chair
himself
over
to
here.
your award ceremony.
Yeah, feel free to come. I think Kevin would actually work my nerves a little less than my mom would at the moment. She wants me to start suit shopping now, and she wants to go with me. And I don't think that's going to happen, boys, because I can go into a store and be done in about 2 hours. She might try to drag me around for 2 days, and that can't happen.
2 hours. We got to get you down to 35 minutes.
Hey, I mean, I gotta be a little picky.
Mark, you know what you're looking for?
Media, rising king of all media.
Thank you, Rick.
Mark, when you go shopping, you don't have a ton of time to yourself, so you go in there, you get done what you get done, and then maybe you go do something by yourself for a while, right?
If only that were the case.
No, it doesn't
Mark,
work that
make
way.
sure that award committee has that audio. That would be perfect for the James Boyd
Yeah,
video.
all right.
That they'll play.
Sending it to Charlotte or wherever that award
Are we
ceremony
up
is taking
against
place
it?
in.
We need a break here, okay?
We can't stop saying nice things about you, right?
That is true.
All right.
Hello, awards ceremony commissioner. I would like to pour this to James Boyd when he eventually wins this. Please play this as he walks on stage.
Big day for coaches this morning. Rick Carlisle coming your way at 8:30. Tom Crean in the 9 o'clock hour. And we'll catch you up to date with everything else that's going on next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We Grow Hair Indy. They are the best in the business. And online, wegrowhairindy.com, the gold standard for hair restoration. And they can help you out today. I'd encourage you to head to their website. I think, honestly, seeing the before and after pictures and videos will explain a lot of their story. But also, you're going to have questions, specifics about, okay, what's the process look like? What's the recovery? What's the day of procedure? All those things. And Darren Andrews and his staff are ready to answer those questions for you. A free evaluation awaits, a private evaluation awaits, a virtual evaluation. All of that is available to you at We Grow Hair Indy. Northwest side, that would be the Pyramids, building number 2. Did a listener reach out and say, well, did I just see you on a billboard near Michigan and 465? Apologies on that. Hopefully you kept the car on the road. But, yeah, you do see before and after pictures. And, again, I think those tell you the full story there. But I realize you're going to have questions just like I did. And that's why you contact them. WeGrowHairIndy.com. The gold standard for hair restoration, We Grow Hair Indy.
Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome into the Fan Morning Show along with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd. I'm Jeff Rickard. Mark Dykton, ready to pounce on the sound over there this morning.
Give me a reason.
All right, I'll tell you that the Indiana Hoosiers got a win over Oregon last night, 92-74, on a night when they honored the undefeated, perfect 1976 team that won that national championship. Lamar Wilkerson went off again, second time this year, Kevin. He's gone for more than 40 at Assembly Hall. Last night, 41. He missed his first 5 shots, and then he was 13 of 15 from the field. And I was surprised in the second half when things didn't go in at a certain point.
Yeah, well, honestly, for the whole team, not just him, I mean, they really punched Oregon right in the mouth. It was only a 6-point game at halftime, and then, boom, they hit him big time. And Wilkerson, again, special score. I mean, when you think about people that have put on that uniform, I get it's going to be 1 year, but, I mean, it's whatever. In the last 30 years, I mean, who Eric Gordon, Bracy Wright? I mean, who else are you putting in that category of, again, pure shooter, scores, however you want to label him? 4th time this season he has eclipsed 30 points in a Big Ten game. Like, it's not like he's just going out there against whatever, Sam Houston State. I don't know why I use the school he came from, and lighting them up for, 30 plus here.
Put some respect on Sam Houston.
Yeah, I know. It's like, should we start, should the fans of teams start donating to the previous schools for some of these players? Like, should, Indiana fans say, all right, half our money goes to James Madison this year?
Well, some of them will probably agree to that as long as they get the money back for the transfers who don't work out.
That's how it works, yes. Hoosiers at one point, I believe, shot better than 80% in the second half last night, James. I want to say it was 82% in the second half from the field. Literally got surprised. After about 7 minutes remaining in the game, you were surprised when buckets didn't go in.
Yeah, they're rolling right now, and they found a nice identity and continue to build that NCAA tournament resume.
Yeah, and everybody else played well, as Kevin said, too. As Sam Alexis, can we talk about him, KB? 16 points last night, but he's starting to look like an inside presence a little bit at times.
Yeah, he's
for them.
probably the player I've been most impressed with. Like Wilkerson, sure, but Kentucky wanted Wilkerson very, very badly. I think we knew he could have the potential to be an all Big Ten type of player. They've needed Alexis very, very badly. Reed Bailey has not lived up to maybe what they thought, and I think Alexis has shown very nice development, both ends of the floor. Again, they don't have a lot of front court depth either. So just vital for Indiana right now. And it's not just the scoring. I get that he didn't miss a shot from the field last night, but the rebounding, the rim protection, all of that is huge, especially for a team that I don't think, is necessarily some strong defensive team.
All right, so they get the win, and they move along. They've been playing very well lately, and they honor that 1976 team. And Bob Knight's going to get a statue that will be placed in the south end of Assembly Hall. It's going to be paid for by a private anonymous donor. Took a while, though, Kevin, didn't it, to get that done?
Yeah. I guess there are some off the court. Yeah, you could open up a whole can of worms if you want to go down that path.
Anyway, that's the news from down in Bloomington on a night that Kansas ended Arizona's undefeated season. Flory Bittinger had 23 points, 10 rebounds. Badunga, sorry about that. I added an R there. Melvin Council had 23, and Arizona's now 23-1. Miami of Ohio is the lone unbeaten team, and tomorrow we'll find out more about them, Kevin.
Yes, Travis Steele going to join us, their head coach, coming up 9 o'clock. So no Darren Peterson, flu-like symptoms for the potential number one.
He's sick of college basketball. Pay me now.
Overall pick. Boy, I'd be sick of trying to research the Darren Peterson story if I were an NBA teams. You watch the basketball film, and it seems like a no-brainer. And then you're like, wait, there's more here? What's
only played about half the games this year.
What's going on here? So, yeah, tremendous, unbelievable atmosphere. I thought that was electric last night.
Yes.
And shout out to Kansas. I mean, they've really built a nice team here after some early season struggles with or without Peterson.
Yeah.
And so they are a top 10 team. And, yes, Arizona goes down. So Miami of Ohio, that is the only one left here for the undefeateds.
Charles Bediako ruled ineligible at Alabama. He had gone through the NBA draft process, never really played in the NBA, but that was a big sticking point. He had been averaging 10 points and 4.6 rebounds for Alabama. His win, the games that he played in where they won will not be taken away because there was a court order that while the case was being decided, they would not be punished for him playing basketball. But they said there is going to be no appeal. This is what it is, and it's all about going through the draft process. So we'll see what this means for future athletes.
So the draft process again for him? This is the second time? Because he's already went through it before?
All I know is he's done at Alabama. He's not going to play there anymore.
Very interesting.
We can also tell you Indiana Pacers get back on the floor tonight. They'll take on the Knicks in New York. 7:30 is when we'll bring that one to you. The pregame starts at 7 o'clock, the tip at 7:30. Announced that Johnny Furphy yesterday has a torn ACL. He is out for the rest of the season. Listen to tonight's injury update. T.J. McConnell, questionable with a right hamstring. Aaron Nesmith, questionable with a left hand strain. Micah Potter, questionable with a left hip contusion. Ivica Zubac, questionable with a left ankle sprain. Obviously, Johnny Furphy is out. Obi Toppin not near return at this point in time. And I think we're going to see a lot of these types of lists throughout the rest of the season, James.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're not trying to win games. And, I mean, when the basketball gods kind of have some things break against you when it comes to injuries, hey, at least find some use of it, I guess. So we'll see a lot of, I would imagine, Noblesville Boom / Indiana Pacers lineups, as you pointed out yesterday. All
right, Kevin, I'll get you excited here in curling, mixed doubles yesterday in the semifinals. A match that actually my wife and I watched quite a bit of. The United States over Italy, 9-8, and it was tense. It was back and forth.
It was epic. That was a defending gold medalist on home soil that the United States was able to send home packing. The fist pump by the male Corey. They're both named Corey, the female and the male. They're both Corey. The male Corey just absolutely electric on the fist pump there. Reminiscent of Cole Hawker, honestly, in that race there. So, yes, gold medal today, noon. Them, Sweden. A lot of gold medals up for grabs today. USA, Canada, women's hockey, I believe, as well. Today for your appointment viewing at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, United States won yesterday against Switzerland by a score of 5-0. Could be on a collision course with Canada. They won over Czechia, as they like to call themselves now, James, as we learned last week. 5-1 was the final in that one. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we move along?
Well, got to mention the game tonight. You know, Purdue and Nebraska is just a huge, huge game, and we've obviously seen Purdue with Maryland and Oregon. Certainly, the Oregon game a little different than the Maryland game, but it's just a gauntlet for Purdue these next 5 or 6 games. So, at Nebraska again tonight. That's 21-2. The Cornhuskers ranked number 7 in the land. So that is FS1 for you there. Looking forward to it. Purdue's an underdog, slight underdog, just a couple points here, but. Certainly Nebraska, a ton of skill. They're going to pull you away from the basket. How will Purdue counter that? What about the turnover number we saw against Oregon? So I think Purdue fans now, it's back on, okay, this is the competition that you're going to see here in the Big Ten and certainly the tournament. How does your team react after these recent 2 games?
One other thing, James, we saw that Clint Kubiak is officially now the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yep, went out on top in Seattle, and now he's off to try to rebuild the Raiders, I would presume, with number 1 pick being Fernando Mendoza.
All right, that's what's happening at this moment in the world of sports. We'll update you again coming up in about an hour and give you a few other tidbits, but right now we'll take a time out. When we continue, we'll talk a little bit about how the Pacers play the rest of this season and a little more about Indiana's win last night. Purdue with a big stretch starting tonight. So it's all straight ahead. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. very excited. It's Cluster Truck Day. And I haven't gone to the go-to order for 3 or 4 orders now, but the Korean beef and broccoli is back today, Mark. And so we started talking about that, and James was giving me a little of the business, and I said, "Hey, you got to give people what they want at some point in time." Like,
yeah, he finna be stacking up the studio, y'all. In
So
about,
that
2
common
hours.
room is gonna be.
Yeah.
People are gonna walk off the stairs of the elevator, like, woo! Someone's got someone cooking.
the beef and broccoli smells delectable. It's fantastic stuff. Then we started talking about donuts, and you brought up longs. I've stood in that line for a while before.
Yeah, I did it with my parents. My mom was actually asking me about it. My dad as well. And actually, speaking of Cluster Truck, I brought that red velvet cookie home to my family, and I let them eat it. I'm not like a real big sweets guy, and boy, the parents were asking me if I had any more, and I'm like, "What do you think this is?"
And again, if you buy one of those,
I
February,
just drove 3 hours. I can't drive 3 hours back to get it.
you buy one of those in February, March, get sent over to Riley Children's
Great
Hospital
cause.
for a cookie for a staff member over there. So I absolutely love that. As my sister-in-law, Anna Lubbers, is a nurse over there.
Is her last name Lovers for real?
Lubbers.
Oh,
BBB.
I was about to say, man, isn't that like the
Shout out to all the
perfect,
nurses, by the way.
Nurse
I was going to
name?
say, it sounds like a Valentine's Day right there.
Lover's Lane.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to take that one. Mark Dykton, that song you just played there will be the most played on the Kevin Bowen Spotify for 2026.
Mine, I think, was, and it's also because during the Super Bowl they kept showing the Winter Olympics like coming up after the game, and that was the song that was featured every time that song came on. My daughter was like, look up, like, what's happening right now?
And how about that during an Olympic year? Golden, of
You know,
course.
I was like, that's a perfect song, actually.
Soda Pop, Takedown. What else? How It's Done, all of it.
There you
I
go.
like it.
The whole soundtrack.
The whole song.
Can we hear that later on in the show again?
Sure.
All right, we'll do that.
Just turn on Peacock, and you're going to hear it.
You guys see Detroit was getting into it last night with the Charlotte Hornets. Pistons being bad boys again. I'll just read you from the description along with this. Moussa Diabate, Miles Bridges were tossed for the Hornets along with Detroit's Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart, better known as James Beef Stew. If you're going to get in a brawl, you got to have a guy named Beef Stew coming off the bench.
Diabate
right?
was one of the madder I have seen a player in a brawl in quite some time. Like, he was going nuts. He had to be held back by a slew of people. It took Beef Stew about 30 seconds to get ramped up, and then he eventually came off the bench. And boy, that was quite something. That was one of the bigger NBA fights I've seen in a while.
Here's the description. Duren had the ball. Jalen Duren had the ball, was driving towards the basket with just over 7 minutes left in the third when he was fouled by Diabate. Duren turns around, gets face-to-face, and Diabate gets right up in his face, starts yelling something. Two appeared to butt heads. Duren then pushes Diabate in the face with his open right hand. That starts a confrontation that lasts more than 30 seconds and ultimately ends with a brief police presence on the floor. While Pistons forward Tobias Harris was holding Diabate back at this point, Diabate doesn't care, throws a punch at Duren. Duren walked away, then Miles Bridges charges at him, throwing a left-handed punch. Duren retaliates with a punch. Diabate wants to go at it again. He charges at Duren again, has to be held back. That's when Isaiah Stewart leaves the bench to confront Bridges. He responded with a punch, and the players tussled. At one point, Stewart got Bridges in a headlock and delivered multiple left-handed blows to his head. It's exactly what Adam Silver was looking for, is it not?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get a play-by-play of the fight recap this morning, but I think there's a couple different elements there, and we don't have to get to all of this. This isn't Pacers coverage, but I will say I understand why Diabate got so upset. He got mushed in the face, basically, so that was just not ideal. And then with the situation, and I think why Isaiah Stewart and J.B. Bickerstaff was talking about this. So after Jalen Duren was being held back by people, Miles Bridges comes in and punches him when he doesn't have any hands to punch back.
Right.
And I won't get too deep into it, but if given Miles Bridges in his history, I don't really care if anybody ever wants to, give him a little
Amen to that.
something. So I'll leave it at that.
James Lamar Wilkerson, NBA player. How high of a draft pick,
boy.
I guess? That dude is a flamethrower.
I know. I'm thinking he's a second-round talent, but he's slowly creeping his way up. And I say that because I wonder how people are going to buy into what's happening this year. Like, do the other previous years matter? He does have great size, being 6'6", I believe. Now, I don't know if that's a true 6'6", but it looks like he's at least 6'5", when I watch him on TV. So does that help him get to the next level. And then obviously, shooting is a premium in the NBA, so you can always use that. But I'm thinking maybe early second round right now, and can you work your way up further than that?
Yeah, I definitely am kind of hearing where you're coming from on that. What I've been thoroughly impressed by with him is they've gotten into conference play, and typically you see this. Conference play, your numbers just don't match what you do in the non-conference.
Right.
So obviously, competition is better. You're scouted much more thoroughly in the conference, and his numbers have ascended. I couldn't believe it. I think Kevin Kugler said this last night. I thought he said right now it's the best scoring average in the Big Ten for an Indiana player since George McGinnis. I mean, there have been a lot of very good basketball players to put on that uniform down there since George McGinnis. And for Lamar Wilkerson to put up those numbers. Again, all 30-point games, 4 of them now this season, have come in Big Ten play. Boy, and Oregon threw everybody at him, and there wasn't hope in a prayer. Hell, he missed his first 5 shots last night. You want to talk about a dude that had no worry about that. No slow start whatsoever there. Finished the game, I think, 13 of his last 15. 41 for Lamar Wilkerson if he went to bed last night. They did take him out with just under 2 minutes to go. I thought for a second they would leave him in there to get, I guess, reset his own record, right? Didn't he already set the record inside of Assembly Hall?
Yeah, he had 44 earlier this year.
So I'm looking at it here. Yeah, they have him listed a couple different heights. So he's 6'4", according to Sports Reference, which is what I use.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, I mean, there are some height questions, his ability to drive the basketball, albeit I do think he's got a little bit more to that game than I originally thought.
Yeah,
but
Kevin, it looks here like our latest rankings from the Athletic of the top 100 prospects, we have him at 90. So I think that was also last month. So he's played a month of basketball since then. I think he's increased his stock. So I think if he sneaks into the NBA, and no disrespect using the word sneak, I just mean if he's able to get an opportunity, it would be a second-round pick.
Yeah, he's also just shooting the heck out of the basketball. Last night didn't hurt. Shooting almost a little over 46% from the field right now. Not bad for a guy on the wing.
Not bad. Not bad.
I'll take that. So that was a big win for them last night. Also, did you see Rick Pitino passed Roy Williams for third place on the all-time wins list last night with a win over his son Richard down in Xavier at Cincinnati last night.
You talk about that after the game, or whenever you grab dinner with your son and say, "Hey, I appreciate that, thank you." That goes. Pops is still king.
They were fortunate to win that game. I mean, that was the game that went into overtime before Indiana did. I'm really looking forward to Purdue tonight. I'm very curious what we're going to see. I mean, they obviously struggled with Oregon in their own building on Saturday. Easily could have lost that game. And now, what's it going to look like? I mean, it's at Nebraska tonight. It's at Iowa. I believe next week, I want to say, is the Michigan-Indiana week for them. I mean, it is. Let's go. I mean, there's no more Oregon, Maryland's popping up on the schedule for Purdue, and obviously, it's been a while since we've seen them play competition that they're going to see in the bracket come March. And when we did last see them, it wasn't going well. There for the 3 or 4 game stretch. So. Matt Painter's bunch, what does it look like tonight in a top 10 road atmosphere, as wild as that is to say about Nebraska?
I would ask Todd Meyer about it here at 107.5 The Fan, but he'll give me negative energy. He's one of those ones. He never has the positive juice for his team. So I can't be asking him how I feel about it.
He supports his team. He just, like most good fans, gets a little frustrated sometimes. We all do.
I don't know. Todd might be more negative than I've heard from a few of us here on this set. But shout out to another one of my boss mans out there.
Always one of the good ones, for sure. This is kind of the time, though, doesn't it feel like? Usually this is when Purdue starts to kind of find a different gear and get ramped up, and they start a run. I still think that's likely to happen. There's just too much talent there, and the coach is amazing. I don't know what's been going on. I know that they're a better basketball team than they've been showing lately, and I do think that they'll find it again, Kevin. We'll see.
Yeah, and honestly, from a defensive standpoint, I think Nebraska can challenge you in ways that we have questions about Purdue. I mean, they have really nice skill. They pull, Rink Mass is a very, very skilled big dude that can pull guys away from the basket. And I think that's the question with Purdue. Obviously we saw it in the game winner against UCLA. Certainly Illinois does it to a lot of teams, but they spread you out big time there. So looking forward to tonight. Again, that's 7 o'clock on FS1 there for Purdue. Reminder, tomorrow you'll have UConn inside of Hinkle. Mark, why don't we go with the 4-pack?
Okay.
Ooh.
Should we do that
Look
there?
at you.
Text line, how are we doing this?
Let's go a little text line here. Butler, UConn. I believe it's 7:30 tomorrow night there.
What word you
For
want
the
them to put down
Huskies.
there on their text?
Doubles luge. No, that's
No, that's too long.
I can't even spell
that's
it
what
right.
she said.
How about luge?
Do we know how to-
Luge.
Can we pick a word people know how to spell?
Luge.
I didn't know how to spell luge until yesterday.
Did you watch any of the luge yesterday?
I did.
Mark, I did want to ask you this. I saw something about Governor of Illinois. What's his name? JB, whatever.
Pritzker, yeah.
Is this thing happening in Illinois now? Are
I
we
don't
done
know.
with Northwest Indiana?
I just retweeted a thing. David Kaplan, who's a host on ESPN 1000, is pretty plugged in. Says, breaking, while the Bears are again talking with Illinois politicians, the city of Portage, Indiana has sent the Bears an offer for a rent-free, state-of-the-art dome stadium that will use no public money. We should know where the Bears are headed fairly soon.
Portage, baby.
I'm like,
Right by the
How about
dunes.
that?
I was going to say, I've been to Portage many times. Shout out to the Portage Indians up there, their high school.
I'm used to Portage as a wrestling school.
That is true. You're bringing back memories, Kevin, of the prep high school, reporting days.
I like it. Indiana Pacers back on the floor tonight. They will be in New York, Madison Square Garden to play the Knicks. 7:30 tip, 7 o'clock airtime here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. As you mentioned a little while ago, the new Pacers were kind of introduced at a little gathering with Eddie White was the master of ceremonies there. And Ivica Zubac talked about what he thinks about coming to the Pacers at this point in time.
That you guys put a great trust in me doing this trade and bringing us over. You guys put a lot of trust in us, and I'm excited, man. The team is a lot of great players on the team that play really good together, and everything's connected, kind of connected through Tyrese. And I feel like when he gets back and when we're healthy, I think we can make some noise.
When do you think we'll see the debut of Ivica Zubac?
I'm not so sure when that can be. What'd you say the over-under was, Kevin, yesterday of the last?
10.5 games.
I might be taking the under on that. Hey, you heard Rick Carlisle. You heard the man. We'll follow with him today, but
He's questionable tonight. Do you read anything into that?
Everybody seems to be questionable.
I think it'll be questionable if he plays.
McConnell's got the hamstring. Neesmith has a left hand strain. Micah Potter has a left hip contusion. Ivica Zubac has a questionable left ankle sprain. Johnny Furphy out for the season, we found out yesterday. Obi Toppin's still out. Obviously won't see Tyrese until next year. That's the list that the Pacers put out last night for the injury list. A lot of guys questionable.
Well, and I assume those guys didn't even get to New York until later. Obviously,
Yeah.
they were here, doing the physical thing, and it sounded like meeting some members of the organization. I do believe the Clippers, their plan is to play Isaiah Jackson and Benedict Mathurin tonight. So Kobe Brown not listed, correct? When you rattled
He was
off
not
those
listed
names?
on there.
So,
You may see him tonight.
Again, the ankle issue Rick definitely brought up late last week in describing Zubac. And just remind everybody, just 2 games before your All-Star break. And Zubac did miss, I want to say it was 5 or 6 games back right around Christmas, the new year, with an ankle issue. Now, obviously, he's been playing through whatever ankle issue there is since then. And last night, Pacers got some big-time tank help. Jazz won. Nets won. I think the Pelicans also won. So
The Jazz are hilarious because they benched Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. for the fourth quarter. I believe their coach, Will Hardy, was asked after the game, how close were you to putting them back in? And he said, I wasn't. And they won anyway. I love that. Like, how do you react to the players in your locker room? Like, great job, men. We failed the tank. Now my bosses are mad at me.
I think it's just so awkward.
It is, but how about this? As much as this neck of the woods hates the Knicks, are we rooting for the Knicks to win tonight if you're a Pacers fan? Or is that hate too deep?
Well, if you look at the
Hell no, you want a top pick? I could save you right there.
Well, and honestly,
And granted, the Knicks are playing pretty good basketball.
if you're going to win either of these 2 games, from a rooting interest, fan interest, yes, James, you're right. Obviously, the Knicks' hatred is well documented. But tomorrow is the Nets. And remember what they've done on the second night of back-to-backs.
Yeah.
But lately, they have gone full rest.
Yes.
So Siakam is not listed tonight. So you expect Siakam to play, right?
Right.
I have a feeling he's going to pop up on the injury report for tomorrow. Because that's the team that's more in the tank. The Nets are right there with you.
So,
whereas the Knicks, and then come back from the All-Star break, you've got the Wizards. So
can I say this, though?
I think depending on the opponent, you could see some strategic planning, if I could sound like I'm a smart business person for a second.
Yes, James?
So because of your smart business, analogy, Kevin, am I right to be more intrigued by tomorrow's game than tonight's? I actually want to watch this. I want to see what happens tomorrow.
First one to 49 wins.
Two teams trying to lose. I'm very serious about this.
Spider-Man
I'm absolutely
meme.
intrigued. Yes. I'm a little intrigued to see how that all kind of plays out. So
I see
I'll be tuning in.
I think a Bugs Bunny cartoon where it's, no, after you. No, please, go ahead.
Hey,
Here,
I'm
after
just
you.
saying. I guess if we're talking about winning, though, Mark, I had you pull this audio yesterday. Let me know whenever you have it. But I was listening to some of the pregame ceremony when it came to IU, and I thought Quinn Buckner, now one of the broadcasters for the Pacers, gave a really good a really good description and story about, being young and being a part of the undefeated team to where he is now in his life 50 years later and realizing how much that meant to the program and now how that's kind of, been passed along to the football program going undefeated. So here is Quinn Buckner kind of taking us through memory lane and giving us some context to their historical season.
After we won, he said something to me that I didn't fully grasp, and you guys know what I'm about to say. He said, "You've done something for the people in the state of Indiana. You'll never understand what you did for them." We just had it happen again in football because the ethos of Indiana is about sports. And we were able to bring it on the basketball side, and people have lived with that for 50 years. You now have it in football, which is just incredibly humbling for someone like me who was involved in the sport to have watched that kind of success. But what it does is it brings people together. That's really what he was telling me. Again, I'm 22 years old, and I'm getting ready to go to the Olympics and the pros. I was not paying attention. For the people in the state of Indiana, what we were able to accomplish, we didn't fully understand. We understand it now because of what Kent talks about, what the question about why people ask us those questions. Because for many people, that makes them stand taller and put their shoulders back. And for that, we can all be proud here 50 years later.
Quinn Buckner.
Yeah, recapping, I forgot to lead into that, but recapping what Bob Knight kind of told him about this team. And I just really enjoyed that because I think it encapsulates how each of us, when we watch a team go on a run, like at least for myself, the football team did this year, you all build your own unique memory with it. And I think that's what one of the things he resonated that he talked about. And so shout out to Quinn Buckner, a legend, not only in Indiana, but back home where I'm from, in Illinois as well. Did you know he was a great football player as well?
Doesn't surprise me.
So back in high school, when he was in high school, he was the player of the year for football and basketball.
Oh, it's kind of funny. You hear him mention that, and then you hear him mention, I was off to the Olympics. It's just like, ho-hum, right?
Yeah, I'm like 22 off to the Olympics, off to the NBA. I don't know if it would resonate with me either, Quinn, but yeah, he's one of the best.
Lamar Wilkerson will get ample flowers today, deservedly so. Obviously, we've talked a lot about him here in the first hour, but I do want to continue to shout out Sam Alexis. I think he has been huge for Indiana. The Reed Bailey situation has not worked out great, I think is fair to say. He's lost his starting job to Alexis. And for those unfamiliar with his background, he only spent 1 year at Florida. It was at Chattanooga before that. So I think there was some curiosity of like, okay, again, what is this guy going to be like on this level? Florida, he was their fourth big guy. It's not like he was playing major minutes in their national championship team. And I think on both ends of the floor, they don't ask him to do much offensively, but I think he's been outstanding here as of late. And they have no front court depth, really, of note. And so they need him to, A, be effective, B, stay out of foul trouble. And I think he's been really important on both ends. I thought he, handled Nate Biddle really well last night. And obviously, you're going to see some other big guys throughout the course of the rest of the Big Ten. So shout out to Sam Alexis, because I think he's been a very, very important guy. Big development for him and Darren DeVries this season.
Indiana might cause some problems in the Big Ten tournament because if you get him playing well, and Dorn has certainly lifted this team since he came back. Wilkerson can score. We've seen that a couple of times. and DeVries is playing much better lately. They got options. They've got some things for teams to worry about heading into the last couple of weeks of conference play and into the conference tournament. So we'll see just what they can do with that. And again, tonight, Purdue takes center stage. They will be on the road to play Nebraska. And Nebraska is just surprising everyone this year, although they did have a crazy defeat recently, as a lot of teams will. But Nebraska, at the beginning of the season, I didn't see Nebraska being one of the top teams in the conference, and here they are.
Yeah, the Big Ten is a gauntlet, and same thing with the Big 12. So I'm excited to see what the Big Ten tournament looks like, let alone the March Madness.
All right, so a lot of basketball coming up. Again, the Pacers here tonight on The Fan, 7:30 tip, 7 o'clock airtime at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Pacers preview presented by C&J Water, the official water treatment partner of the Indiana Pacers, cnjwater.com. Got a big coaching day, 8:30. Rick Carlisle stops by in the 9 o'clock hour. It'll be Tom Crean, the former Indiana coach, as we're talking a lot about Indiana basketball. They honored the 1976 team last night just before the game, and lots of announcements coming out there. We'll tell you more about that next as we roll on. It's a Tuesday morning at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Indoor and outdoor concrete, garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks, galaxyconcretecoatings.com. I swear it might melt a little bit more today. We're going to see more of that concrete, and honestly, you might see it and be like, what the? Well, I haven't seen that in a while. I don't like what I'm looking at. That's fine. Contact galaxyconcretecoatings.com because they can help you out today. Again, it's indoor and outdoor concrete, garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Manufacturers upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime. I think you will be very happy by visiting that website and seeing the exact styles that they have to offer you residential and workplace. Again, it's indoor and outdoor concrete. That is Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Very efficient at our house. We got a new sidewalk, new front porch a couple summers ago, in and out in about 24 hours. And we are very pleased with the results. Again, it's indoor and outdoor concrete, garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Contact them today, galaxyconcretecoatings.com.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning, everybody. Sun's starting to rise up over the great state of Indiana and the city of Indianapolis. And, of course, the Pacers play later on tonight, 7:30 tip in New York. Rick Carlisle will join us with a conversation with Kevin and James coming up at about 8:30. And then we'll all speak to Tom Crean coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. And as much as we look forward to college basketball, Purdue playing tonight at Nebraska and what Indiana did last night, we're never too far away, Kevin Bowen, from the Indianapolis Colts. And as we watch the Super Bowl and the Seahawks celebrate and all that stuff, you start to say to yourself, all right, how do the Colts get at least a playoff win, if not into the playoffs this coming year? And they certainly got some work to do.
2 weeks from today, boys, we'll be at the Combine. 1 week from today, the franchise tag window opens up. I did find it interesting, kind of lost in the Super Bowl news cycle over the weekend. Adam Schefter from ESPN reported that George Pickens, of course, the Dallas wideout, expected to be franchise tagged. That, I think, is of note because if you look at the wide receivers in this year's free agency class, I think you can make a very strong argument the number 2 wideout behind Pickens in the entire class would be Alec Pierce. So if Pickens is to get tagged and Pierce were to hit the open market, then all of a sudden, I think you could call Alec Pierce the top free agent wideout in the 2026 class. So let's go with that franchise tag window next Tuesday. You think it makes more sense to use it on Daniel Jones or Alec Pierce?
Alec Pierce.
Yeah, I think Alec Pierce too.
Mainly because when you look at Daniel, I think that a lot of teams are not going to want him because he's coming off the Achilles injury, and he has a lengthy injury history as it is. And that to me seems more of a easier marriage because of perhaps the lack of other suitors. Even with Minnesota, possibly, I don't know. I'm not reporting this. I'm just thinking to myself, they're not really that high on J.J. McCarthy. So would they try to go get Daniel Jones? I don't know. There might be some competition there, but I just think that with the market Alec Pierce is going to have, you can't mess around. Now, granted, if you do that, you do have to pay him an estimated $28.8 million fully guaranteed for next season. Now you can negotiate a different deal after you franchise tag the guy, but if you do franchise tag him, if I'm Alec Pierce, I'm not asking for anything less than that annually. Otherwise, I'd just ride the franchise tag out and wait for you to basically have to pay me again.
Yeah, I think you go to the same route. Yeah, I think you franchise tag Alec Pierce for the reasons that you just talked about. But more importantly, I get the feeling, and maybe I'm wrong here, I don't want to play with other people's money, but it feels like Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones are kind of simpatico, like, we'll take care of you, we'll give you what kind of the market is going to give you. And if you're the Minnesota Vikings, with all the quarterback trouble you've had over the last couple of years, not named Sam Darnold, do you say, hey, we're going to go pay a bunch of money to a guy that's injured all the time, that's coming off an Achilles injury?
Kevin, what is his market? Him being Daniel Jones. Because I was going through this last night when I was looking at some of the top Colts free agents, and maybe we'll talk about that later this week. I have a piece coming out just ranking them. I saw you ranked them a couple weeks back, Kevin, and maybe we can debate that here on the show. But for Daniel Jones, I thought he was on pace, Kevin, to have the Sam Darnold sort of payday, but then the Achilles happens. So how does that change what he would get annually? So for those listening, Sam Darnold signed for 3 years, I believe just over $100 million with Seattle, so about $33 million a year. That number has to go down if you're Daniel Jones because of the injury, but I mean, how much further? He almost was like on a discounted deal last year with how well he played, with only for $14 million. So he'll get a raise, but I just don't know what it'll look like.
Yeah, I think that's where the franchise tag element for the quarterback makes it almost laughable to even pitch the idea of Daniel Jones on the franchise tag. James, you said what, $28.8 million for a wideout?
Yeah.
Quarterback's 46?
Yes.
So a $46 million.
And it's fully guaranteed.
1 year fully guaranteed deal for a dude coming off a torn Achilles? I mean, there's no way, right?
No, you can't. They can't.
So I just, but then again, it's like, well, I mean, it is quarterback. You know, if you look at the quarterback market, James, you asked about it. It's about as dry as the Sahara. I mean, that quarterback market's what? Aaron Rodgers, Malik Willis, and maybe a Kirk Cousins. Like, I mean, it ain't.
Don't forget Marcus Mariota.
It's not deep. So I will be more curious, I guess, length of the Jones contract. You bring up 3 for $100 or whatever Darnold was.
3 for $100.
I'm probably more in the 2 range. I probably say cover your first round picks that are gone. Your first round picks are gone. Cover them, and then whatever. It'll be a good problem to have if you need to give Daniel Jones another contract here in a couple of off seasons.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about the length of the contract matters.
Because to me, it's like I'm almost ruling out the franchise tag. Like 1 year for $46 million coming off of torn Achilles. There's no way.
Okay, so then
again, this is my thought. I want to make that very clear.
Right.
So now I'm into the is it 2 or is it 3 years? Because with Pierce, if you are nervous about competing on the open market with him, which I think it would be a competitive open market, then you have to franchise tag him. Yeah. And then maybe you'll Michael Pittman it and figure out the extension like they did with Pitman. Just a few days after, really, they tagged Pitman if memory serves.
Yep, you're right. But then my follow-up question to you all is, who has more leverage in this negotiation? Is it the Colts or is it Daniel Jones? Because on one hand, yes, Daniel Jones is coming off probably the worst injury of his career. But if you're the Colts, considering you got rid of your 2 first-round picks to try to get Sauce Gardner, and you did, and you don't really have a plan B, can you afford to play hardball if he says, hey, I want the same Sam Darnold contract regardless?
Spot Track says that his market value would be $43.5 million.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't even look at that, because I think they don't factor in like injuries, Jeff. Because I looked at the number 2 yesterday, and I'm like, all right, well, for us here in reality, none of us is going to give him 43.
He made 14 last year.
Yeah, nobody's getting out. Even the healthy quarterbacks like Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield didn't get that. You could argue they're better players. So that's where I'm like, I get that they're very cordial. I don't think that Daniel is like, I need every penny, because he's got money in his career and he's got paid before. But I also don't want to discredit, like, there's only so many times you have an opportunity to get paid in the NFL, especially in this sport, without violent and finite the game can be. So I'm very curious to see how negotiations go, because I don't think it's just as simple as, I want you back. Okay, here's a number, and you just sign the first thing you get.
I think I know the answer, but I'll ask both of you. Are the Colts in any kind of position to front load his contract and just give him a big old signing bonus?
I don't know why you would front load given his injury.
That's what I'm just trying to think.
Well, I guess
trying to think if he's looking for any kind of a deal that's 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. If he is that too much for you?
I'm more in the 2-year camp. I mean, I understand he's got an agent. The agent's going to want to do his job.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is going to be an amount of the guarantee. Like, part of me is like, okay, let's call it whatever. 2 for 65 just to play the game.
Okay.
But then do you guarantee it all the way up to the franchise tag? Will the agent try for that? Because, again, this has been a very weird last few months. You've had a team and a quarterback both publicly express their desire to continue their marriage. There's no hardball being played publicly. This is the worst Real Housewives episode you've ever seen. I mean, this is incredible. Both these parties
There's no
are
drama.
Like, yeah, we want to continue this thing together. And, it's not like Anthony Richardson or Riley Leonard are providing much leverage for the Colts, if any.
Raleigh's like, this is my spot now.
Right. So, again, to me, it's probably more of we're about a month away, but I guess we're going to get some answers, honestly, here in a couple of weeks, just with the franchise tag window. It's a 2-week window, to remind everybody out there. It starts next Tuesday, again, 2-week window. I'm kind of thinking, the thought with me is Jones 2 or 3 year deal. That's one side of it. And then the thought with Pierce is franchise tag, can you get an extension done? That's how I look at the 2 most important free agents here in 2025.
And then you go about looking at the defense after you take care of those 2?
Well, in-house, I mean, to me, Nick Cross is the only real debate you'd lose sleep over. Jermaine Pratt, I don't think.
But you got to go find other people to come in.
Sure.
That's
yeah,
my point.
I'm just talking in-house. Yeah,
right.
I mean, outside of the building. And, Mark, let's cue up this Michael Pittman Jr. audio because, James, this sounded very Week 18 Michael Pittman Jr. to me. This was courtesy, I believe, of Anthony Calhoun and Wish TV out at the Super Bowl. Pittman Jr. made some of the rounds, and James, I know he was really candid with you guys in Houston. This was Pitt about his future.
Indy is my home. I mean, I love everything about it. I love the people there. I love this team. And I just really want to do everything that I can to bring this team back to where we should be and where we were like in the past, like the Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, the Marvin Harrison days. So I would love to be a part of that, but, part of it is not in my control. So kind of, know the nature of football. Like, it's a business, right? So we'll see what happens.
Pretty rare to hear a guy under contract admit that last part.
Yeah.
And he, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, that's more or less what he said to you guys in the emotional aftermath of the season ending in Houston. Here
absolutely.
He is a month later, pretty much saying the same thing.
Yeah. In the moment, you can think, okay, maybe you're a little emotional, but you've had a lot of time to think that over, and his stance didn't change. And I think Pitt, and I probably shouldn't use nicknames, Michael Pitman Jr. is a realist. And he is a bit more candid than most athletes are in situations like this, which I appreciate. But, yeah, if he's not back next year, which is a real possibility, then I think that kind of changes the math a little bit, Kevin, when it comes to the draft and free agency, because then you have another position you have to address. You can't go into the season with Alec Pierce and Josh Downs as your top two receivers. You probably need another person that's more of that possession guy across the middle, bigger body. You can get that in the draft, possibly. I don't know if I would do it like in the second round, but that's something to think about if you aren't able to restructure. But I'm very curious to see if Pitman is willing to restructure. I would think that he is, given the stuff that he said about how much he loves Indy and he has a farm out here, his family's out here, his life is out here. But on the other side of it, I wonder if he thinks, okay, is this at the age of what? I don't know how old Pitman is. Maybe about 26, 27.
Yeah, maybe a little older, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point in my career where maybe I don't have as long to pursue winning. So do I go somewhere where they have an established quarterback, they need a little more help? Am I looking at Buffalo, for example, to say, not just a team I'm throwing out there, but teams like that, am I looking at that saying, I can go somewhere and, make the same amount of money and play meaningful football.
Again, that cap hit, James, is $29 million, right, for Pitman this year?
Yeah.
Dead on. Yep.
So I think that's where he acknowledges the elephant in the room.
Right.
Again, a lot of guys wouldn't say that, and he's saying it.
And to explain that a little bit, Kevin, I'll let you finish. So he has $29 million cap hit. If the Colts cut him, they would save, I believe, $24 million in cap space. So that would be extra money you could use for other players, other needs, and only a $5 million cap hit that you still have to carry on the book. So I don't want to get too nerdy, but essentially $29 million, if he's gone, you get an extra $24 million to play with and build your roster out of other weaknesses.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if it's an outright cut. Because
well, the technical term will be released by this certain day or
right. I guess what I'm saying is you'd create a big need at wideout, and you just laid it out there. If you were to whatever part ways with him, I think a restructure is probably what makes a little bit more sense.
We saw this happen with Braden Smith last year, I believe.
Yeah.
So it is possible to
not something that the Colts have done a ton,
right?
Really at all in the Ballard era, but you are nearing a point in time with a lot of these contracts that I think some of these discussions have to happen.
And honestly, a restructure isn't the worst thing in the world. I think Pitman hasn't played to the level of his contract right now.
No, but certainly not $29 million.
No, but to flip that and say, okay, if he's back at $13 million, I think that's a more palatable discussion. And I just want to make it clear, Pitman isn't to the point where I'm like, he can't play in the NFL anymore and be any good. I don't think that's what I'm saying at all. I think it's more so, can you get like more bang for your buck, if that makes sense?
The 5 highest paid Colts right now going into 2026. You mentioned Pitman at $29 million, DeForest Buckner at $26.6, Quentin Nelson $24.2, Chavaruis Ward at $19.8, and Bernard Ryman at $17.5 million. Those are right now the 5 highest paid Colts on the 2026 payroll.
And one of the questions we will have to ask at the scouting combine when we speak to Chris Ballard, not only at the podium but also here, hopefully on the show, Kevin, is what is the status of Chavaruis Ward? Have you got any clarity on if he wants to continue playing football? Because if not, then that creates another scenario that isn't as cut and dry. I know I've been asked a lot about this by the fan base, and when it comes to a player retiring early with money still left on their deal, a la Andrew Luck, there isn't like a one-size-fit-all rule about how the money is distributed, how guarantees are possibly recouped, how it can affect your cap. Like, a lot of it has to do with the individual player and situation. So, for example, you know, Chavaruis Ward could be a good Samaritan and say, you know what? I don't want to play anymore. You guys can take the rest of that money and that I guaranteed or whatever. You can just keep it. And or hey, you can lower my salary cap hits or whatever, and I'll just walk away from the game. Or he could say, well, I'm entitled to this portion of my money. I want this. Or he could take it public and be like, well, are you really going to take my money back, you know, if I'm retiring for concussions? I don't think the Colts ever asked for any money back from Andrew Luck. So
no, they just gave him a lot.
Exactly.
$25 million or something.
Again, a lot of that to me is nuanced. And so for those who keep asking about it, the truth of the matter is we will not know until if and when that happens, and then we're able to get more clarity on his unique situation. But overall, though, that is a scary situation. He was very candid after the season. So still one of those players, Kevin, when I heard him talk, he didn't sound like a guy that needed football and was very comfortable with what he's already done. Undrafted, won a Super Bowl, got paid, been an All-Pro. I mean, that's the stuff you dream of as a kid, and he made that very clear.
As an
now
undrafted
it's just,
free agent.
Yeah, I mean, what else is left for you to do? So very curious to see how that plays out.
Rick Carlisle in 15, Tom Crean in 45 minutes, 9 o'clock for him. Last time Indiana basketball has had a shooter score like Lamar Wilkerson.
Run that back one more time.
Last time Indiana men's basketball has had a shooter like Lamar Wilkerson.
Didn't you mention this in the first hour?
I'll probably go Eric Gordon myself. Granted, I haven't watched a whole lot of Indiana basketball. I did move to the state, 5 years ago, and got into college basketball a little bit more when I was in school at a Big Ten program. But Eric Gordon is probably the one for me, just knowing how much of a legend he is in this state, and really, I think a lot of his game, I don't know if he's still in the NBA. He might be. I think he is.
Yeah, he just got traded at the deadline.
Yeah, but the reason why he's been able to play this long is because of the jumper. And we saw that plenty of times down there in Bloomington.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I don't want to overly compare the two, but, Eric Gordon is kind of like an undersized two guard a little bit.
Yeah, and he was explosive.
Yeah, definitely much more of an explosive player getting to the rim than I think Wilkerson is. But yeah, James is probably the name I would go with. Honestly, I went a little bit, even like Bracy Wright, if you want to go back a little bit further. But, as far as reasons, because I was thinking about Tom Crean coming on, and, Tom's best team, of course, they were just so balanced. The Oladipo, the Zeller, the Watford, Sheehy, Holes, all of them. James Blackman Jr. had a nice run, but again, Wilkerson, I mean, they said it last night on the broadcast. I couldn't believe it. Say it, the most points an Indiana player's average during the Big Ten since George McGinnis. I mean, you're going way back there. And that, to me, again, is what has stood out about Wilkerson especially. It's they've gotten into Big Ten play, and his play has ascended. Well, it's one thing to, put up 30, 40 on the cupcakes, but, he's put up 4 games of at least 30 in Big Ten play.
How about this, KB, from Michael Nizoliak? Is that who we had on the air a few weeks ago? I hope I'm saying his last name correctly.
Nizoliak, but yeah.
Nizoliak, I'm sorry. Michael Nizoliak. He tweeted out last night that Lamar Wilkerson has now made 84 three-pointers this season, which is the 4th most in a single season in program history. And the list from 1 to 4, Steve Alford, 107 back in 86-87. James Blackman Jr., who you just mentioned, with 91 in 16-17. And then Yogi Ferrell with 88 in 13-14. And so one thing that points out is, can Lamar Wilkerson get hot enough to put some pressure on that record, or stay hot enough to put some pressure on that record by Steve Alford? And number 2, how is he still the all-time leader? I feel like the game has changed so much when it comes to the three-point shot in recent years that it's kind of crazy to see that Steve Alford, who's a great player, I don't want to take anything away from him, is still atop that list. And so respect to Steve Alford and Steve Alford in.
All right, coming up in a minute, Rick Carlisle will stop by to talk about new players and how you approach the rest of the season. But right now, we'll get you caught up to date.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
We're talking about all this Indiana scoring stuff because Lamar Wilkerson dropped 41 on Oregon last night after missing his first 5 shots. James, he went 13 of 15 from the field the rest of the way, and everybody from Indiana was getting their groove on against Oregon last night.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Wilkerson, special scorer, and IU continuing to build that NCAA tournament resume.
Also last night, after missing their, I think they were 2 of their first 12, and then the team started to get on a run. They opened the second half with a 16-6 run, and that's when they really put it away. Sam Alexis had 16, and we've talked about him quite a bit this morning, Kevin, and he keeps scoring and getting his nose dirty around the boards like he has been lately. That's just another weapon that Indiana had that they didn't have a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah, I'll continue to say it. I think he's been really, really key. Like, probably needs to be talked about more. And again, both ends of the floor. They just don't have a lot of front court depth. And, with Reed Bailey having some struggles, they've needed Alexis to step up. And outside of just a perfect night last night, I think he provides a lot from a rim protection, rebounding, blocking shots, etc.
All right, so Indiana gets the win 92-74 over Oregon. They honored the 1976 team, which was undefeated last night, 50th anniversary. Bob Knight getting a statue will be placed in the south end of the Assembly Hall. It's going to be paid for by a private anonymous donor. But I thought that was interesting. That happens, Kevin, on a night when Kansas stops Arizona 82-78, and that's the first loss of the year for the Wildcats. So there's another one gone.
Floyd Badunga, 23-10 last night. No Darren Peterson. I hate to say it because it sounds like he was sick, but that drama, I guess, continues a little bit here. His lack of availability during his freshman season. So that leaves one last undefeated. That would be the Miami, Ohio Redhawks, and the head coach of the Redhawks, one Travis Steele, I believe. You said Newcastle earlier, James. I believe he's the product of a couple Newcastle grads. Tons of Indiana history for Travis Steele, the head coach of the Redhawks, joins us tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
All right. I can also tell you that win number 904 goes in the sheath now for Rick Pitino. He got a win over his son, Richard Pitino, at Xavier last night, and he is now passed Roy Williams for third on the all-time coaching wins list. And as you said, James, like it would be in your house, I'm sure, going to be forever pettiness there for Rick getting his 904th against Rich, right?
Are those all the wins or the vacated wins?
Just said list him at 904, third on the all-time list. I thought the same thing, and I couldn't find a distinction this morning when I was looking for that. But St. John's wins at 87-82. Pacers play later on tonight. We'll talk to Rick Carlisle about that coming up in a minute, who and will and won't play, especially with new players coming to town. We know that Johnny Furphy is out for the rest of the year. We learned yesterday he's got a torn ACL, out for the season. He was one of the bright spots, a lot of fun to watch until we won't be able to watch him moving now the rest of the season. He was really starting to get some minutes.
Yeah, starting a lot of games. Yeah, just awful news. And I know you have people are like, tank. Well, to me, Furphy and Jarris Walker are in a category of their development is vital. And really, especially after the Mathurin trade, really, really key to continue their growth. And unfortunately, Furphy, who has battled some injuries, it's got obviously a serious one now. So yes, Rick Carlisle will join us here in a few to chat more about that and, of course, the recent trade.
All right, again, 7 o'clock airtime tonight. They play the Knicks at 7:30. You'll hear it live right here on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. The question remains, James, who's going to play and how much will they play moving forward? Olympics. Yesterday, we saw Team USA's women's hockey team advance to the gold medal game against Canada. They got a 5-0 win over Switzerland. That one will be played later on today. And yes, Kevin, I'll mention in curling, United States gets the defending gold medal champion Italian team in mixed curling last night.
Just electric. Doubles. Electric. Top 10 sporting event I've ever watched in my life. Unbelievable final throw there. I say throw, that's not the right lingo there, but when the woman Corey yelled at the man Corey to start curling, I got a lot of just sweat on my body thinking, is he going to be able to curl this in the proper manner? And sure enough, he did. Knocked that Italian rock, 41 pounds each of those rocks, by the way. Knocked that Italian rock all the way to Rome.
And barely kept our Rock in the field of scoring.
They knew what they were doing. The fist pump from male Corey was
still winning, right?
Tiger Woods in 2000 on a Sunday. Just epic. First ever medal secured in mixed curling for the United States. They'll go for gold today. Rematch with Sweden, as James Boyd pointed out. Hard to beat a team twice unless you're Kurt Signetti against Oregon.
As I mentioned, too, the women's hockey team will be playing Canada for the gold medal later on today. And you can probably get a complete breakdown of the curling championship from Kevin online later on today, right? Little video? Analysis, breakdown?
Yeah, I don't want to fail on promises there. A big one tonight out in Lincoln, Purdue and Nebraska, 7 o'clock. Purdue a slight road underdog as they start quite the gauntlet here through the rest of the month of February.
I do want to mention this real quick. Just in from Butler men's basketball, Stink Robinson, the freshman guard, will miss the rest of the season due to a left wrist injury that requires surgery. So I think he had been coming along pretty well for that program. Just a bummer there for Butler, who is struggling at this point in the season.
Been a tough couple of weeks. Rick Carlisle, head coach of the Indiana Pacers, is next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hook up in the headphones.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Rick Carlisle is scheduled to join us here in a few back-to-back in New York for both here. Knicks coming up tonight at the Nets tomorrow, and then All-Star break time for the Indiana Pacers. I feel like the three-point contest continues to be like at least some names in the All-Star weekend. I think the dunk contest, it's still like you got to Google search a lot of them, but three-point, I feel like it's some names.
Did you see Damian Lillard is going to participate? Despite not playing this season, he's coming off the torn Achilles. He's now with the Portland Trail Blazers, but...
Oh, wow, I didn't even make that connection.
He's going to be playing, or at least shooting in the three-point contest. And
Devin Booker,
interesting.
Lillard, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Knippel, who's had a great rookie season with Charlotte, Norman Powell, who was a nice story as a all-star there in Miami. So no Jay Huff in the dunk contest.
Isn't Bobby Portis in the three-point contest as well?
Portis is as well.
Wow.
Is he a Pacer villain?
I think so. I don't think Bobby has ever been loved here.
I think he's a villain on 29 other teams.
That's true.
He's just one of those guys that you're just like,
Yeah.
I hate this guy. But if he's on your team, you're like, I love this guy.
Gets those eyes. I feel that way about watching Connor Enright for IU.
Yes. The eyes get so big. But you got to be able to see, man. You got to be able to make plays. Can't miss anything. Can't knock a man for trying to see.
Your dunk contest, Carter Bryant, Jackson Hayes, Kashad Johnson, Jace Richardson. That is the son of Jason?
Yes. We're getting old, Kevin.
Mac McClung finally hung it up, or did they just tell him no?
He said he was done after last year. Can't just parade me around like I'm in some circus.
Right off into the sunset?
There you go. Former Pacers legend, Mac McClung, by the way.
Gosh, I forgot about that. Gosh, he was getting like minutes early in the season.
Been a long season. A lot of people have been getting minutes.
It has been. Pacers got a lot of help last night for those curious in the old tank standings. You had the Nets, Jazz, and Pelicans all win. Again, all three of those teams right there around Indiana. And if you look at the standings as of today, they are a game up on the fourth spot. That's notable for the Pacers because that's when the odds start to decrease. Again, if you're 1, 2, 3, it's the same across the board. 52% chance at a top 4 pick, 14% chance at the number 1 overall pick. So the Kings have the worst record in the league. They have lost 13 straight games. Pacers are 2 games behind them, but then it goes Washington, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Utah. So right there, 4, 5, 6 all last night. All got the W.
Yeah, that was something. Did you see the Bam Adebayo quote after the Heat still lost to the Utah Jazz, who were trying to lose, basically? He came out after the game and said, well, yeah, we really have to win these games against teams that aren't trying to win. And I'm like, what a statement. Could you imagine making that statement back in the day? Like, tanking is just different, man. But I get it. I understand why teams do it. But then you have teams like I feel like the Bulls and Miami and maybe the Hawks. No matter what they do, they're always in that play-in range.
Oh,
and that's the worst place to be.
We've had jokes.
It's NBA hell, as I call it.
Yes.
Half joke, half been serious with Mark Dykton. His Bulls are the 9 seed against the Hawks every year in the play-in.
It's them and the Heat every year. You can just write it in.
It's disgusting. That to me, it's kind of, honestly.
They suck at sucking.
Yeah, pretty much. That's where the Pacers were to a degree a few years ago until they finally blew it up with the Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner tandem and decided that winning 25 games is probably better long-term than winning 35 games. And now you look up a couple years later, finals run under your belt, and I get it. This year has been rough again, but again, you'd rather be terribly bad than just kind of bad.
And, again, last night we had, obviously, help from the Pacers, but then collegiately you had more of the Darren Peterson drama. Now, for what it's worth, he was out last night due to flu-like symptoms. You hate to, overly read things into it, James, but NBA teams are doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
You've pointed this out. The Darren Peterson body language when he's not on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm overreading it. Let me raise my hand.
Yeah.
But boy, he doesn't seem to be too bummed he's not out there.
I would agree. But you know what? His personality, and that's why I'm trying to be graceful or give him some grace in this because it's like his personality might just be very reserved. You know who is like that to a degree is Daniel Jones. And when you go in the locker room, now granted, the guy, he tried to play through anything, right? Broken leg and all. But the personality sometimes can be off-putting because you don't have like the fire and the passion. Like, for example, Phillip Rivers, the reason why we love him as a player in the NFL is because of the passion and the tears and the fist pumps and the dead gummits and all that. Daniel Jones will never give you that. The only time I ever saw him have like a real reaction, honestly, was with the Achilles tear. Other than that, he's pretty even no matter the situation. And maybe Darren Peterson has a little of that in him. But boy, I'm like, just play the game. Like, make yourself look like you care a little bit more, even if you truly do. But I know people have questions about it, and I do as well. I was looking forward to that game last night, and boy, Kansas got it done, but I would love to see him out there as well.
Shout out Floyd Badunga, 23-10 last night as Kansas upsets.
With the nice block at the end. Woo, baby.
Big block at the end. Yeah, he had a couple nice offensive moves, I thought, last night as well, that I didn't know he had that in
They said he made 32
bag.
shots in a row in high school. And I was like, well, 22 of them dunks? Could you imagine making that many in a row?
Oh, yeah. It had to have been.
The efficiency of Floyd Badunga.
We'll try to get Rick Carlisle on the line. Reminder, Tom Crean going to join us top of the hour. Fan Morning Show here on a Tuesday.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark Dykton, excellent as always on the re-entries. Good Tuesday morning to you. Balmy here on this February 10th. Hopefully the melting will commit. Maybe, again, is it Lamar Wilkerson heating up the entire state of Indiana here?
He could be, boy. He was a flamethrower last night, and he has been for the better part of this season.
Started 0 for 5, 13 of his final 15 shots he made.
Shoot a shoe, baby.
41. Boy, and that light deserves to be neon green for Lamar Wilkerson. So much more on that. Tom Crean going to join us here in 15. So trying to get a hold of Rick Carlisle. Pacers going back-to-back here before they have their all-star break upcoming. Obviously, Pascal Siakam off to L.A. We've talked about Purdue at Nebraska tonight. Really looking forward to that one, 7 o'clock. Anxious to see how Purdue handles what is one of the tougher stretches I've seen in the Big Ten in quite some time here for what Purdue has upcoming. Again, it's at Nebraska tonight. It's at Iowa on Saturday. Next week, James, Michigan and Indiana. And I want to say Michigan State is somewhere in the February mix as well. So we've had a lot of questions about Purdue lately. The quality of opponent probably hasn't been necessarily great. Nonetheless, they've won both these games. They struggle with Oregon a bit. Curious how they respond tonight. Road underdog at Nebraska.
Yeah, I think this is one of those stretches where if you're a Purdue fan, you could be feeling pretty good after it goes down, or you feeling like the sky is falling. I love how some of their fan base reacts to their season. I think they've earned enough trust to know that they will have something to say when it comes to March Madness. But I do think there's been some slippage in their level of play. And honestly, what concerns me, Kevin, when I watch them, at least defensively, they don't really guard the three-point line very well. And that, to me, could be kryptonite in some bigger games, because if you can't just guard the three-point line, that's the great equalizer. That changes everything for your team. And they don't rebound as well as I would like to see them do. And so when you compound that with not closing out the shooters, not being able to rebound well, what usually happens is you clang a three, Kevin. It's a long rebound. You got to get it. So can they correct some of that? I get some of that is personnel-based. You're not going to change, every bit of your weakness throughout the season. But I go back to some of the things that I want to say. Was it Rick Carlisle last year, Kevin, where he pointed out, like, hey, I understand we're not going to be, like, the best defensive team in the league from worst to first, but can we get to a place where we're at least respectable enough to offset some of our deficiencies? Like, can we get to the middle of the pack? If you're Purdue, can you up your defensive performance on the perimeter just enough to give yourself more of a chance to win some of these bigger games?
Yeah, and they're going to need Braden Smith to play like a first-team All-American. Yeah. 6 turnovers for him on Saturday. You're going to have the defensive questions. I think those are rather inevitable given your personnel. You can't have that number. And that's been a number. That's a season-high number. That's been a number he's reached a couple times here in the Big Ten. So that'll be a big key for the Boilers tonight. Again, 7 o'clock, FS1 for that one. I did want to mention one more lingering thing on the Colts, Hall of Fame, Reggie Wayne. And I'm probably like just repeating something I assume Mike Chappell has said in that room, James, but you've heard a couple of different things on why I guess they don't view Reggie Wayne as highly as, maybe we do. Again, I think it's idiotic when I hear Peter King say something to the effect of like, hey, he doesn't have enough whatever, like highlight-ish plays or whatever the exact phrase was.
He doesn't look like a Hall of Famer argument. Like, what does that mean?
Again, not everyone has to make Odell Beckham-type catches. But if you want to play that game, or if you want to play the, show me the moments where, he's really shown up, a couple things. First off, I continue to go back to the Orange Glove game in 2012 when he had over 212 receiving yards against Charles Woodson, of all players.
Never heard of him.
Exactly. And you want to talk about some highlight reel plays in that game. If you want to go to one of the bigger regular season games in NFL history, frankly, the 4th and 2 game inside of Lucas Oil Stadium when Belichick went for it.
Oh, yeah.
On 4th and 2, who scores the game-winning touchdown after that stop? it's Wayne. And that was not some ho-hum. That's not him catching the ball in the Super Bowl. I get the Super Bowl, Reggie jokes. I think he jokes, but maybe he's serious. He goes, if I would have dropped that ball, they would have put me at the bottom of Eagle Creek with how wide open he was on that play. But I also think it's worth pointing out this, James. Peyton and Marvin. I think voters use that as a knock against Reggie.
Yes, they do.
And if you go back to the 2007 season, Marvin gets hurt. He plays 5 games in that season. One of the best Colts teams. I think some people think it's the best Colts team of that era. 2005 and 2007, I think, get a lot of debate. Some say 2009. That 2007 season with Marvin Harrison, 5 games, who led the NFL in receiving yards?
Mr. Wayne.
So I can't listen to those arguments against him. And again, I'm probably sounding like a broken record to some people.
Well, you sound like Mike Chappell right now. I know he's been fighting the good fight as well.
But it's just like, if you're going to, talk negatively or not view him in the Hall of Fame light, at least give me substance that you can back up. To me, none of it is very, backed up, if that sounds correct.
All I ever hear is that he's getting punished for playing with other great players. Like, that's what it seems like.
And I hate that argument so much because when you look at Reggie Wayne and his individual performance, particularly in the playoffs, I mean, as he said on Twitter a few weeks ago, the ball can't catch itself. So, and it's twofold for me. Like, you can't sit up here and tell me with a straight face that Peyton Manning would have had the same career here in Indianapolis if he didn't have Marvin Harrison and he didn't have Reggie Wayne. I still think he would have been a great player, potentially a Hall of Fame talent, but how many Hall of Famers? I mean, it's the ultimate team game, football. Like, how many Hall of Famers are getting in without having someone who was good next to him? And that's the whole argument for Andre Johnson, who I do not think was a better receiver than Reggie Wayne. Like, I put him kind of in the same family, but the argument for Andre Johnson is like, who was throwing to him? My argument is, who cares? That ain't my job. My job is to catch the ball regardless of who threw it. And that irritates me. But I do think they get knocked as a group. Well, not the group, because a lot of them are in. But I think the Hall looks at it like, well, that great Colts era only ended with one Super Bowl victory. So how many can we let in with only one Super Bowl win? But I'm like, dang, it's hard to win at all.
That's 100% correct. Because I feel like that's the same with the 85 Bears. Like, Steve McMichael couldn't get in until he was almost dead because they're like, well, how many Hall of Famers are we putting on this team? The whole thing? Like, they just won one. And it's like, yeah, because the Colts won one Super Bowl, they're going to look around like, all right, Peyton, Edge, Marvin, Tony Dungy, Dwight Freeney. How many more guys are we putting in on this team that won one Super Bowl? And I feel like that is an unfair, standard. Just because you won one doesn't mean you can't have more Hall of Famers on. Reggie Wayne is a glaring omission right now.
And they'll throw Vinatieri on that list.
Exactly.
And then my question, which is crazy because I get that he deserves being for the Colts purposes, but also, I mean, he also had a Hall of Fame career well on its own with New England. But when I look at just how it kind of has played out, Kevin, I wonder if wide receiver is the toughest position to even get into the Hall of Fame for at this point when you look at football. Because, boy, I don't know if there's any other position that has a log jam quite like this where your resume, as great as it possibly can be, gets picked apart to this extent. Another guy I thought of, and I don't think that he was necessarily a wide receiver or, well, I'll let people listening decide. But like Hines Ward's another one I was looking at when it comes to like not being in the Hall of Fame. Got 1,000 catches, I think 12,000 receiving yards, 85 touchdowns. He was Super Bowl MVP, 2 Super Bowl rings. He's not in. So, like, there are certainly
Steve
guys
Smith.
who are, who probably are worthy of it. But, man, Reggie has checked pretty much every box. He was first-team All-Pro, Super Bowl victory, great playoff performer. He's got the counting stats, longevity. I mean, he was the number one receiver for the post-era Peyton Manning Colts with Andrew Luck. So, again, I feel for him, but I just wonder if he's going to be one of those guys that has to wait so long. Like, well, Reggie have a few more gray hairs, and we're looking up 10, 15 years from now, and we have to hope that he gets voted in as like a senior member versus being voted in as a traditional player.
Reminder, Tom Crean going to join us here at the top of the hour. I'll hopefully get Rick Carlisle in at some point in the 9 o'clock hour. Pacers going back-to-back here. A little bit of news this morning, Mark, in regards to the Bears Stadium. Did you say David Kaplan mentioned the city of Portage offering a dome stadium, tax-free dome stadium? Is that right?
Yeah, he wrote about an hour ago. It said, while the Bears are again talking with Illinois politicians, the city of Portage, Indiana, has sent the Bears an offer for a rent-free, state-of-the-art dome stadium that uses no public money. We should know where the Bears are headed fairly soon. My question for that, no public money. Did they find gold in the dunes or something? How is there no public money for that?
Mark Dykton with the metal detector, just going up and down the dunes.
I'm lucky to find like a couple bottle caps.
You guys want to make a road
Just
trip?
a nice oily skin as he, make sure the sunscreen is right there.
Yeah.
Hairy chest.
So Portage, Indiana, the dark horse.
Portage now.
You got Nelly's got to go to college someday, Kevin. So if you want to, you want to make this move up, up north, I got you, brother.
Let's
we'll
go.
do some digging.
We'll have lunch at Fair Oaks. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on the geography up there, Northwest Indiana. Now we're getting kind of east into the state, right? Aren't we a little bit?
Yeah, it's a bit of a drive.
Portage ain't knocking on the border.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a drive.
No, I mean, like it's by the lake, but yeah, you're inland a little more.
I mean, you're passing, I guess, cities. I'm saying of what
Gary and
Hammond.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, Chicago.
You're passing some of the cities that we've talked about. We've talked about them because they've been mentioned so far. So
yeah, you're pushing towards like Chesterton and all that stuff. I mean,
hell, just playing Notre Dame
Michigan
Stadium
City.
At this point.
Yeah,
I was thinking that a little South Bend trip. Could you imagine? Lord have mercy.
The Arlington Heights rumor is a dome as well, right, Mark?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it would be kind of those new age ones where it's like the whatever you want to call it, the little like
canopy,
kind of like SoFi, the canopy. Yeah.
But you could host the Final Four in there.
Correct. Yeah.
And yesterday we saw Illinois governor say that feels like progress has been made, though. So is this kind of the Bears reaching out to Kaplan versus the Illinois legislature saying, no, we have, progress has been made, blah, blah, blah. It seems like we get one side of the story than the other. It's like one day we get Illinois, the next day we get Indiana.
Yeah, they're kind of dueling press releases right now. So I guess we'll see what happens, but picking up steam, it seems, in Indiana.
That is certainly true. All right, Tom Crean, we'll talk a little college hoops with the former IU coach on the other side. Fan Morning Show here on a Tuesday. We Grow Hair Indy. They're the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration. The best in the business up on the northwest side. That is We Grow Hair Indy. Specifically, the Pyramids, building number 2 up there. One of the biggest questions I had entering the process wasn't exactly results-oriented. I actually think the results pretty much speak for themselves when you see some before and after pictures and videos. It was, what would the recovery process look like? I was nervous. I was hesitant. Not too big of a fan of, frankly, any sort of procedure or anyone touching me. But was reassured by them that wouldn't be too bad. You sleep upright for a couple days, and that's really it. And they were right. I was back at work 2 days after the procedure. I actually took a trip to an SEC football game with my buddies the very next weekend. So, again, those are some of the questions I had and the answers I got from We Grow Hair Indy. Free evaluation, private evaluation, virtual evaluation. All of that is available to you. The gold standard for hair restoration, the best in the business, it is We Grow Hair Indy.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, 9 o'clock hour here on a Tuesday. It's quite a busy Monday night of hoops in the college land. You had some big-time individual scoring efforts. Number one team in the land. Arizona goes down. Again, big one we've talked about tonight with Purdue and Nebraska. And to talk much more about all of it, the former coach of the Indiana Hoosiers and a man that went up in the rafters this weekend there and in the honoring of the Marquette Golden Eagles. He is Tom Crean. Coach, thanks for the time this morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you guys. Thanks for asking.
That was pretty cool, I thought, on Saturday afternoon. As a diehard Notre Dame basketball fan, I must admit, seeing some of those faces gave me some very sweaty palms there on Saturday afternoon. It looked like you had a ton of your former players there.
Yeah, it was. I knew it would be great. Obviously, when you're going to get something like that, you're anticipating it to be fantastic, but it was way beyond what I could have imagined. Just the feelings being there. My wife was with me, which was great because she hasn't been back very much. So many players were back that, in fact, the team, that first Big East team 20 years ago, won at Notre Dame that year, and then Notre Dame went on an incredible home game win streak, as you probably remember.
Sure.
And so that team was special, but so many guys, Travis Diener, Robert Jackson, Dwayne Wade flew from L.A., flew red-eye to Chicago, drove up, came to the game, spent a little time afterwards, flew back to L.A., from Chicago that night. Like, that is just incredibly meaningful for people to take their time like that to be there. And people treated us great, and it was an incredible time, and we loved every bit of it without a question.
So, Tom, does it feel like it's been that long? Like, or is it a little bit of both, where you blink one day and you're like, man, that was a different chapter of my life, but also, dang, I could have sworn I was just coaching D. Wade and he wasn't retired from the game of basketball.
Well, you know where it felt like it had been a while when you watched the videos. You watch, like I told my wife, I said, man, we built this and the crowds got this way. And we had all this attention for the team. I said, without social media, like without all the different things that you could have back then. Back then it was really just the message boards, that were the big thing. But no, it doesn't feel that long at all. And what's incredible, not only are these guys successful, have their families and so proud of their families, but like everybody's in shape. We've got guys that probably weigh even less now in their 40s than they did when they were playing. Like the level, we still have numerous guys that play every day, and it's just, that's so awesome. I mean, they just did such a great job of building their life, taking care of their life, and building their families, and it's wonderful to see. So, no, it does not seem like it was that long ago at all.
Well, it sounds like, you evaluating your former players, hey, well, all these different rules in college basketball, bring them back. Let's get you back in the saddle. Everyone's got eligibility, right?
Well, we see with the Charles Bediako situation, they wouldn't let the NBA guys back like that. But, no, most of those guys use their eligibility, though. Dwayne obviously left early. But most everybody else that we had there, they used their eligibility. But we had guys like Dominique James from Richmond that were on those teams. Now, he had a game that Saturday night back coaching in Tennessee, so he couldn't be there. But we had Wesley Matthews, we had Jarrell McNeil, so many different guys that had excellent careers. So, no, I'm proud of what they did. So we're not going to – I'm sure somebody would love to see Dwayne Wade come back, but I'm not sure that would be in the cards. He could probably still go out there and get 15 and 10 pretty easy.
There you go.
I was going to say, if the RCA Dome was still around, he's probably got some vivid memories inside of that building. Of course, that voice is Tom Crean. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Coach, let's start in Bloomington last night and what Lamar Wilkerson did. I know maybe the shooting of Nick Dorn hasn't been as apparent here in recent games, but do you feel like Indiana has found a little bit of something with this starting lineup change? And obviously Wilkerson, quite the flamethrower.
Well, he gives them another guy that can really shoot the ball. I think there's a place for Conaway on that team, but he's not the three-point shooting maker that a guy like Dorn is. And I just think what Lamar Wilkerson, what Tucker DeBreeze, what those guys are doing is the ball is continuing to move. They're a product of the movement. They're a product of the spacing. Lamar Wilkerson is so good at getting a shot, creating a shot. And when I did the game, the Marquette, Indiana game back in November, what happens is if you're not used to the range of those guys, it stuns you. And not everybody has that type of shooting range, obviously, and not everybody practices against that type of shooting range. That's one of the reasons that Wisconsin is such a good shooting team. But what stands out to me about what Indiana's doing is the improvement of guys like Connor Enright, Sam Alexis, who won a national championship, obviously, last year with Florida, who was a really good player at Chattanooga before. These guys, they attack your body. Like they went at Wisconsin. I didn't get to see as much of last night because I had a game with the Minnesota Timberwolves for the FanDuel Sports Network. I do pre and post game for certain games with Minnesota and with the Milwaukee Bucks. So I didn't get to see it as close. But where Indiana is usually going to be in good shape is if they don't have really strong rim protection on the opponent. If they're like, there were no block shots last night for Oregon, you can attack them inside. You can attack Wisconsin. And I just think they have found some different ways to defend. They're not getting hurt in the inside play because they can drive it, because they have unique ways to score. They've got good footwork around the rim. But Lamar Wilkerson, to be able to shoot it like that and to be able to get the ball so many different ways is highly impressive.
Let's shift gears a little bit here. Of course, Tom Crean with us, and it's one of the games of the night in college basketball, Purdue at Nebraska, 7 o'clock for that one. How much, when you talk about Purdue in March, Coach, how much do you look at no Miles Colvin, no Cam Heide, the ability to maybe offer a different lineup without the traditional bigs, if you will. How much of that do you think could be a hindrance to Purdue making a run?
I don't think offensively. I think offensively they're really, really good because Trey Kaufman-Durant has improved so much over time that he can do so many things. You can post him, and he's just a legit scorer over that left shoulder at the rim. You can play him in the pick and roll game, the short roll game, and he can operate out of that, or he can throw it for a lob dunk, or he can kick it for a three. I think Oscar Clough can score. Jacobson can score. I think the problem for them becomes when their bigs have got to guard perimeter shooting, or sometimes in their switch games, and they switch a lot. Like when they played Illinois a few weeks back, and Keita Wagler did the things that he did, he got some of those threes on their big men, on the big men of Purdue, like Oscar Clough. They struggle in games where they've got to do a lot of recovering to shooters, where they have to go hard out on perimeter to guard a guard, or where bigs can really shoot the ball. And that's one thing that Nebraska can do. Nebraska can really shoot the ball. And that's really the only thing that I see in Purdue, because there's so many different ways that they can score. Braden Smith is so good at creating passes, creating pocket passes, on those short rolls. He's the best ball screen guard, I think, in the country at being able to read and operate out of it. He can shoot it. He can shoot it in the paint. Lawyer can play. I think they are really, really good, but I think as time goes on, it's going to come down to, can somebody expose them out on the perimeter, because their bigs struggled staying up with that on the outside.
So, Tom, to take a big picture kind of look at the Big Ten, how much of a gauntlet do you think this conference will be when it comes to the conference tournament and just later stages of the season? Because Purdue's schedule, I think, gets tougher as we look ahead, but also you got other teams like Indiana playing better basketball as the season goes on.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's in Michigan is Michigan. Michigan State is going to rebound. Illinois can shoot it as well as anybody, and will shoot it as many times as anybody, and have so many different guys that can space you. Nebraska is really good. Iowa is getting better. Ohio State can upset somebody. You mentioned Purdue and Indiana. I don't think there's any question that you've got numerous teams in the Big Ten that could win the conference tournament in a weekend period, but they could get all the way to the Sweet 16 to Elite 8, man, that's a big jump. Like, it's so hard to get to the Sweet 16. But a lot of things got to go right to get to that Elite 8 and then beyond. And I think the bottom line for teams is, the further you go down the line, somebody's going to take away your strengths, right? Bottom line is, your weaknesses can't beat you. Like, you can't have weaknesses that can really knock you out. If you want, you've got to be able to negate those if you want to be able to get to the Final Four. And I think there are numerous Big Ten teams that could overcome that and get there. A lot, like I said, with Purdue, could come down to certain matchups that become issues for guys or for teams. But I have no doubt in my mind the Big Ten is loaded, and it wouldn't shock me at all to see a couple teams in the Final Four and one of them even win it.
It's the voice of Tom Crean. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. We appreciate his time on this Tuesday morning. Coach, I'm not going to lie, the Marquette memories have had my mind racing here on this Tuesday. You brought up Dominique James, and, I feel like he's almost a forgotten guy at times when you think back to that kind of era of high school basketball in the state. Obviously, he was the class right before Oden, Conley, etc.
Sure.
His class, I want to say Luke Zeller might have been Mr. Basketball.
Yeah, Luke Zeller, Josh McRoberts was in that class.
Sure. Yeah, Josh as well.
That was three pretty big-time players right there.
Yeah, what do you remember about recruiting him? Obviously, the Richmond gym is pretty iconic. What do you remember about getting him?
Well, I remember that. I remember going to some Richmond games and just being blown away, because obviously basketball in Wisconsin was bigger than people thought, and there were some phenomenal games that you would go, but it just wasn't the way of life that it was at Indiana. And I hadn't experienced that yet because I wasn't the coach at Indiana yet. But I think just being at Richmond High and seeing those type of games, meeting with him maybe in his home and in a visit or at the school, and just his personality, just his charisma, the way the students were around him, the way the teachers felt about him. It was incredible. Like, it was – and he's always been like that. There's a Pied Piper quality to him that he's had for a long, long time, and I think he's got it now with his wife and coaching and the way that he loves the game. He had a very successful career going overseas and G League and different things like that. But he was astounding in the way that you didn't see that athleticism when you first would look at him, and then all of a sudden he'd play and he'd uncoil on a dunk. Or we had probably 3 or 4 alley-oop plays that we could run for him alone, man offense alone. I mean, he could go get a dunk. Just incredible. But I obviously loved the Zeller family, and Luke was the first, and Josh McRoberts was a superior talented guy back then. But that's what I remember most. I mean, that helped me really, really get an indoctrination into just how powerful Indiana basketball was.
Last one before we let you go, Tom. The university, Indiana University, announced yesterday that they will have a statue built for Bob Knight. I'm still kind of picturing your face after the Christian Wofford shot years ago. So you had a couple moments down there in Bloomington, but obviously when we know we're talking Coach Goats, he is the GOAT when it comes to Indiana basketball and that men's program. So just your thoughts on him being immortalized in that manner.
Well, it's obviously something that could have been done a long time before, but for different reasons, it wasn't. And I think that it just makes a lot of sense. So I think, however, Indiana and the former players and people like that convinced those that needed to be convinced that needed to be done, I give them a lot of credit. I mean, when you talk about statues that should be up for coaching legends, I mean, you could put him in the Mount Rushmore of coaching legends for any sport, right? For somebody that should have a big-time, wonderful statue, out in front. And I saw that they named a street after him now close to the arena. To me, that's just the way that it was. Even though he didn't have a relationship with me anymore when I was there, and that he really wasn't around us at all, there was no question that we were going to revere him and honor him in every possible way that we could, whether it was pregame videos, whether it was pictures around the arena, the Cook Center, anything we could do to make sure that we could show that we were so proud that he had coached there, even though he wasn't around anymore for us, that we wanted to make sure that we were never, ever going to forget what he meant to basketball and what he meant to Indiana. And I think this statue is just now the next great thing to continue to show that for a long, long time.
He is a busy, busy man this time of year. Always love the insight from Tom Crean. Coach, congrats on your own honor Saturday afternoon. That was cool to see. Well-deserved. And thanks for making time like you do.
Absolutely. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me, and have a great week.
That's a great Tom Crean right there. Kentucky, Florida, I believe. Mark said he's got some radio coming up this weekend. He does, as he mentioned with us, the Minnesota Timberwolves also. I really enjoy his insight. It's funny, he points out, honoring Knight in the ways that they tried to during that era. I can distinctly recall the intro video, and I think it was just a still shot of Knight that they would pop up there in the 60-second intro video. And every time, James, it was the loudest cheer.
Yeah.
Of all the highlight, I mean, hell, and they might have thrown in the watch shot by the end of that highlight, reel, but that honor there. So if you missed it last night, in the South Lobby of Assembly Hall, announced with the 76 team getting honored inside of that building last night, Pat Knight in attendance, that they will have a statue out there. If I'm not mistaken, they already have several of the 76 members, I believe. And I think it'll be the same person that, erected, I guess, that statue, or statues, I should say, plurally, do that for Bob Knight as well.
So then my question is, I know he had like the special chair. Is he seated in a chair, or is he holding the chair, or is the chair just not in the statue?
I'm gonna guess plans? The chair's a long ways away. Okay. I don't know. A little pamphlet, didn't he occasionally? I don't know. Maybe that's too like Gene Hackman-y, John Wooden-y of it. But
just making sure.
Nonetheless,
you don't want to be historically accurate.
And while you hire the guy, you might as well get him started on the Signetti statue, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that guy he's immortalized forever, and I was thinking he's probably scouring film as we speak this morning.
Speaking of coaches, Rick Carlisle, 9:30.
Yeah,
Correct?
he called right after we got Tom Crean. I was like, hey, I think we got our wires crossed. Can you do 9:30? So he said, yeah, they have a meeting at 9:45. So we're going to join him in a little while, and then, yeah, he'll hop on before a meeting.
Okay, let's do a quick morning check down here, then hopefully we can get to Rick Carlisle a little earlier.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Well, James, let's start with Tom Crean's old bunch. It was quite the night, quite the Monday inside of Assembly Hall. Not only, of course, the honoring of that 76 team, but Lamar Wilkerson. He missed his first 5 shots of the game, and if you thought that would deter that young man, you thought wrong.
I should get close to the camera. The background on my phone, the screensaver, is shoot or shoot. And shout out to Lamar Wilkerson. You make me believe, brother.
Boy, Tom Crean is so right. The distance. There are a few times where I feel like the Oregon dudes were like, I feel like I'm going out far enough. And Lamar Wilkerson's like, no, you're not. 13 of 15 the rest of the game. 41 points. They did take him out with about 2 minutes to go in the game, but it has been an unbelievable, especially Big Ten campaign for him. He was great last night. Big second half flurry, really, from Indiana to pull away from Oregon in convincing fashion. And shout out to Sam Alexis. You know, I've tried to hit that a couple times here on this Tuesday morning. I really think he's been a key ingredient to Indiana. Reed Bailey, I don't think has really lived up to it from a portal standpoint. They don't have a lot of front court depth. I think Alexis on both ends of the floor has been key. So quiet week, of course, the rest of the week for Indiana. They are at Illinois on Sunday. That is a 1 o'clock CBS game. All right, tonight, speaking of Rick Carlisle, who will join us here in a few minutes, it is the Knicks and Pacers, 7:30 tip. The news item from yesterday, though, James, the unfortunate confirmation of a torn ACL for Johnny Furphy.
Yeah, tough for him in his second season. I believe it started about 21 games this year and was, I think, showing a lot defensively, trying to come along offensively, but just a tough situation and another significant injury for this Pacers team.
Now, back-to-back for the Pacers before they head to the All-Star break. Typically on these back-to-backs, lately they've rested more guys on night 2. That makes sense because you play the Nets tomorrow night, and they're the team closer to you in the standings from a lottery standpoint. Pacers got great help last night. Nets won, Jazz won, Pelicans won. So that's good news for the Pacers. They try to, get the best odds possible. So again, 2 games left before the All-Star break. 7:30 tips. Both of these, Knicks tonight, Nets tomorrow. Rick Carlisle will join us here in a few. Big one in Lincoln, as we talked about with Tom Crean just a few minutes ago. Purdue at Nebraska, 2.5-point underdog, the Boilers. Last I checked here, again, 7 o'clock on FS1. They have a brutal February upcoming here. It starts tonight at Iowa, this weekend, Michigan and Indiana coming up next. Tom Crean said it, James. You look at the Big Ten right now. I mean, you could I don't think this is us just living in a Big Ten country. I think you could talk yourself into one of 5 teams playing inside of Lucas Oil Stadium in April.
And that's why I was curious to hear his perspective on it, because it's so loaded and someone's going to be disappointed in the end. Because coming into this season, quite frankly, Kevin, I did not expect my alma mater to be what it's looking like. Michigan with Dusty May. I think Tom Izzo, I trust him every year, no matter who's on the roster at Michigan State, to be something. But, boy, I haven't even mentioned Nebraska and other teams. So very excited to see, again, this second half of, the Big Ten schedule as we get into tournament time and things of that nature.
We are down to 1 undefeated in college basketball. Arizona losing last night inside of a rocking Allen Fieldhouse. No Darren Peterson, the NBA draft prospect, sat out due to the flu. Flory Badunga, really good, 23-10 for him. I thought that was just an awesome college basketball environment there. Sure. It made me so jealous of not being in the building there. So we're down to 1, and we'll have that head coach coming up tomorrow, Travis Steele for the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Talk about a lot of Indiana ties. He'll join us coming up at 9 o'clock.
I had a similar flu when I didn't want to go to 5th grade. I'd put the thermometer under the sink and get it a little warmer than usual. I don't feel good.
I've told you guys how much I hated taking medicine, right? Back in the day, what I would do. And
I have not heard this story.
What I try to blame them on.
You've told it, and I don't recall it, though.
I would, my mom would hand me the pill, in her room to take, whatever, Who knows? And then I go back to my room, fake take it, put it underneath my bed. And then when the pills were later eventually found, as I probably didn't get any better, I blamed it on the people that lived there previously. I just assumed we kept the same furniture as the people that lived there previously.
They're pill poppers. They must have left their stash.
I'm not going to lie, brother. That is an insane lie. Wow.
I feel like I'm now going to be judged differently.
I don't think you should be judged. I'm just curious to see if that gets passed down. Is that genetic?
I don't know.
Will you have Max Bowen doing anything nefarious like that?
Motrin's a hell of a drug. Luckily, Max Bowen's been taking that pretty well. When he has gotten sick. Winter Olympics, got a lot of gold medals being handed out today. USA women's hockey with Canada and the curling. We'll hit on that before we wrap it up here.
Kevin, I'm legit laughing, man. That's crazy.
I got to go look in the mirror at this point. Rick Carlisle joins us next.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark Dykton on his game here on this Tuesday morning. Rick Carlisle scheduled to join us here any minute.
Ooh, baby, Mark, that's the song you play when your life gets better in the movie.
I know. I got the girl. I got the job.
Yeah, man.
I think that's one of the more universal songs at a wedding where all ages head out there.
Hey, good music does not matter, or do you care about the age?
There's no expiration date on good music.
I think you'd be a great wedding DJ, Mark.
Thank you. I think that's a compliment.
Certainly is.
Yeah, you can't have a bad wedding at the bad DJ at the wedding. Can't have that.
No, I think Mark would be excellent.
Open bar, good DJ, you're good to go.
Again, Rick Carlisle scheduled to join us in a few. Thank you to Tom Crean. Always enjoy hearing Coach Crean's insights there. He's a busy man. He's done a lot of college hoops, and I think he's added a little bit of minutes. I think he's like the Eddie Gill of the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
I think is how I would describe it. Providing a little bit of analyst work.
Not to be confused with Eddie Garrison.
On that front.
Shout out to my brother.
Not to be confused with the great Eddie Garrison on that end. So back-to-back for the Pacers here, again, at the Knicks and then at the Nets coming up. So tonight, just from a schedule standpoint, you get Purdue, Nebraska at 7. That is over on FS1. Pacers will be 7:30. Tomorrow's Butler, UConn at Hinkle. So Braylon Mullins inside of Hinkle Fieldhouse for that one. He's been a pretty consistent double-double scorer. Of course, Butler gets UConn after a loss, which not ideal at all. All right, let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now. 2 games left before the All-Star break. He is the head coach of the Pacers. He is Rick Carlisle. Coach, good morning. How are we doing?
Just fine, thanks.
Let's start, I guess, with the unfortunate news from yesterday, and that was the confirmed ACL tear for Johnny Furphy. I know you've mentioned kind of his ability to defend, offer some friction without fouling. When you have seen him out there, what have you liked from Johnny Furphy so far?
Well, there's so many things, really. The defense, the rebound, rebounding, the running. His shooting is on the rise. He's grown in so many ways. So this is, very unfortunate, situation. But time goes by quickly. He's very young. I expect him to make a full recovery. It'll be several months. I don't know. You hear different time frames with all this stuff. It's 8 to 12 months. No one knows for sure. But he's a great kid. He's very disappointed, and so are we. But he will be back.
Rick, when a player suffers an injury like that, obviously you can't have a remedy right there in that moment. But what conversations have you had with Johnny Furphy to just encourage him and let him know you'll be there, which I would imagine it's the case for all your players, but again, a young player going through something like this for the first time?
Well, yesterday, I spent about a half hour with him in his hotel room. One of his good friends from Australia is here. His summer trainer is here. And, I just spent 30 minutes with him, just laying it out, giving him names of guys that have made full recoveries from the exact same injury situation, whatever it is. And just trying to encourage him and let him know that, everybody will be with him. We feel his pain too. It's just, and it's obvious that we have a strong belief in him. I mean, I don't know how many games he started here this year, but it's more than a handful. And so, we'll see which doctor it's going to be that does the surgery. But it'll be one of the best in the world, and he will make a full recovery.
That's the voice of Rick Carlisle. Pacers got 2 more until the All-Star break coming up back-to-back, the Knicks and the Nets the next 2 nights. Let's talk about our first conversation with you since the Ivica Zubats trade coach, and obviously he's had some big games against you guys. Just from a pure skill set standpoint on both ends of the floor, what is so attractive about a player like Zubats with your system?
Well, he's a top 10 starting center, and right now that's a great need for us. When we spoke a week ago, there was no conversation with the Clippers about him, to my knowledge, and so this thing came on rather quickly over the last couple of days at the deadline, and I guess there was a lot of back and forth, and we've given up two very good young players. Given up Mathurin and Jackson, and obviously a couple of picks. So I think it's a great trade for both teams. I spoke to one of the Clipper coaches yesterday. Who they had reached out, wanted to find out as much as they could about our two guys that were going to them. We had a great conversation, traded some information, and it's onward from here.
You mentioned last week you feel like the center position is coming back a little bit. Well, I guess why do you think it is? I guess in what ways have you seen that?
Well, the league's gotten faster, and during that period, there have been times when it's gotten smaller. And, now this year, you look at the first game of the season that was on TV, it was Houston at Oklahoma City. So you had Steven Adams and Şengün starting in the starting lineup against, Hartenstein and Holmgren. And so that's 4 7-foot guys out there to start the game. And, look at Utah. Utah traded for Jackson Jr. Now they're going to have Nurkic, Jackson Jr. and Markkanen at 3. Markkanen 7 feet tall. So teams are playing faster, but size and really gigantic size has come back into it. And if you don't have size and some girth, you're going to be up against it. Zubac gives us size. He gives us strength, experience. He's just entering his prime at age 28. And so, we're excited about the possibilities. He got here last night after physicals, and, I sat and met with him for a few minutes before our prep this morning for New York. And, he's been there for 10 years. And so, this is a big change. But our people have made him feel very welcome, which I fully knew they would. And we're really thrilled to have him.
Rick, when you look at some of the moves this team has made in recent years, obviously the headliner is the trade for Tyrese Halliburton, then the trade for Pascal Siakam, the trade for Zubac. How much do you appreciate just the ingenuity, the creativity of your front office to continue to try to give you all a chance?
Yeah, no, these guys are amazing. And, to this point, they've been able to do this, and we're still under the tax, so it's quite amazing. I mean, there's so much thought and so much work goes into these trades. And, the last 2 years, we've had good runs in the playoffs. We've had great runs in the playoffs, and we've beaten, first and second apron tax teams with a team that's under the tax. And so it speaks to how well the team is put together and how well things are thought out. And so, I'm very grateful to be a part of this.
Team meeting on the horizon, so just a couple minutes left here with the Pacers head coach, Rick Carlisle, with us on this Tuesday morning. How much do you think this trade coming to fruition, Coach, was, I guess, due to a question about Benedict Mathurin and his future being here in Indiana, maybe his desire to want to be here long term?
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I mean, really, it was more about a glaring need that we had. And look, the thing that I'm most pleased about with all this, I spent more time with Ben probably than any young player I've ever had, just in terms of watching film, conversations, talking about the history of the game, how the game has evolved. A lot of his heroes growing up played in a different era where the game just looked totally different. And, we've had great conversations over the years, and he, really in his last 4 games that he played, coming off the 3 weeks where he just was banged up, I thought he played some of the best basketball he's played the whole time he's been here. And that bodes very well for his future, so all that stuff's going to work out for him. He's a bright young player. But you guys know the saying or the phrase. To get good players, you got to give up good players, and it's disappointing to give those guys up. But to get a guy like Zubats, it's the only way you can do it.
You think Zubats will make his debut here one of the next 2 nights?
No, he's not. I don't think he's going to play for a while. He's got a lingering ankle situation. He was injured. It was December 20th or something like this, something like that. And initially it was deemed to be a 4 to 6 week injury, but this is a guy that's played 95% of his games since he's been in the NBA, and he pushed to come back early. Their team was struggling, and so there's just something in there still. There's some discomfort. There's some swelling. You admire the guy for slugging through, but at this point, it makes zero sense for him to be out on the floor in an NBA game if he's not feeling as close to 100% as possible. So I don't know the timetable. He will not play in these 2 games, and we'll see what's what when we come out of the break.
Last quick one from me, Rick, and just bear with me, nerd out a little bit, but how much does a screener like Zubats, when he does get out there on the floor, change your offense? Because I get that a lot of, today's NBA is pick and pop and things like that, but boy, I can only imagine what it'll look like when he's able to kind of give you a couple walls out there to get into the flow of your offense.
Well, he's a different player than we've had. We've had, Miles was terrific, and Miles could do a lot of things. Miles could pick a pop. Miles became a very good roller. Miles had a big body, all that kind of stuff. Zubats just the element that he brings. He's bigger than Miles, a little longer, I think. His game is more around the basket with brute force and strength and skill. And look, our game's going to look different with him out there than it did with Miles. But both these guys are terrific players. In my view, they're both top 10 centers in the league. And we're very fortunate to have Zubats on board.
Again, back-to-back before the All-Star break. Knicks tonight, Nets tomorrow. Coach, hopefully you get some quiet time, maybe see Abby, hang out with the fam a little bit, and we'll talk to you here coming up later in the month of February.
Take care, guys.
Rick Carlisle, Payless Liquors Hotline. Much more on that conversation. We'll close it out one final time here. It is the Fan Morning Show on a Tuesday.
do it.
We're going to stand by.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark Dykton in his bag on this Tuesday morning. It looks like Lamar Wilkerson from last
shooting
night.
From all over the field and knocking him down.
I'd not expect to hear Petey Pablo this morning, but man, Mark, you are in the bag.
Thank you to Tom Crean. Thank you to Rick Carlisle. Thank you to Cluster Truck. Excellent as always. Especially love this time of year. The red velvet cookies. Again, February and March, you buy a red velvet cookie, which is very delicious. Not only do you get that, but $1 will go to the Riley Children's Foundation, and also they'll send a cookie right over to Riley Children's Hospital to one of their nurses. And as someone that has a sister-in-law as a nurse over there, that makes me very, very, very happy.
Yes, that's a great cause, for sure.
Big fan, your promo code there via Cluster Truck.
Do nurses fight over the cookie? Who gets the cookie? How do they decide?
I hope you ain't fighting it. Well, I guess if you are going to fight, you're already at the hospital, so if anybody gets a little messed up, you can.
Lubbers is bringing some brass knucks to work.
Yeah, exactly. She's picked up a chair. She's going WWE style. There, floor 4. We need to make sure we're heading over there. It doesn't sound like Ivica Zubats is going to be playing anytime soon.
I was going to say, he needs to be over there with the nurses.
Right.
Eating his red velvet cookies. Yeah, that was pretty dismissive from Rick Carlisle, at least when you asked about him making his debut over the next couple of days. But that was to be expected, quite honestly, and I'm not surprised. And it is a legitimate injury that he had earlier in the season, and Rick made it very clear right there. There is no incentive for them to play him other than to get acclimated, but even then, he was not traded here, no disrespect to anybody on the roster currently, to play with this rendition of the Pacers.
Again, he missed, I believe it was 5 straight games, kind of right around Christmas and the New Year, due to an ankle issue. For the most part, that's really it in terms of missed action here this season. And he's been very durable throughout his career, but that is something that I know a lot of people are curious about. Technically, he's listed as questionable for tonight, but so Rick Carlisle just shared with us.
I told you it wasn't going to be a question.
Zubat, do I need to lower the 10.5? Do I need to lower it to 5.5?
Man, after he said that, I did think about that number. But I think I'm sticking with.
What do you got? Like 25 games left after the All-Star break? 30 left after the All-Star break?
So I'm gonna take the over. But boy, check back in with you next week.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up anytime soon. Pacers-Knicks tonight, 7:30. Pacers-Nets tomorrow night, 7:30. Both of those games you can obviously hear right here on the Fan. And then L.A., right? That's the All-Star break?
Yes.
Or that's what the All-Star game is?
Yeah, because I was thinking about this when they initially had kept out Kawhi Leonard, and for a second there, I thought LeBron might not make it. But the 2 L.A. stars get a chance to go out there. I don't know what to expect in Sunday's game, kind of a round-robin thing. I'll probably tune in because I was a degenerate who watched a little bit of the Pro Bowl. So I'll report back for those who are not interested. And, boy, you don't have to feel sorry for me watching.
Yeah, boy, I can't. If I didn't have this job, I wouldn't be watching.
Well, good thing we get paid to, keep up with sports. And shout out to Pascal Siakam for getting that. Now, I do think when you look back at players that have gotten chosen in the past, a guy with that record would not have made it as a team. But I think it speaks to the respect that other coaches have for Pascal Siakam, how he goes about his business to still get voted in, with the Pacers, I think, currently having at least the 3rd or 2nd worst record in the league. So shout out to Siakam, man. And I know I'm kind of nerding out a little bit, but for those who are curious, at 10:01, go to his Instagram. If you have an Instagram account, it's very curated. Like, you can tell he's kind of a artsy, video-driven person. I don't know when he made this switch, but he has a personal videographer that kind of travels with him and the team that kind of documents his life. And I think it's very cool. Like, it's very high quality. And while I'm still on this tangent, you know who I need to catch up with? And I don't want to, put it out there and people steal the story idea, but CJ Miles. Have you seen the former Pacer? Is like a phenomenal photographer now.
Really? So a little Kent Griffey Jr. action to him?
Like, if you follow him on Twitter, he posts his work. This man could legitimately put his stuff in magazines and on the cover of, newspapers. He's that good.
He always seemed like a good dude. I mean, I didn't cover him.
It seems like a legitimate second act for him.
Nice.
Because he takes it very serious. And when I see him talking to other photographers about it, he starts talking in languages I don't understand when it comes to the equipment he's using and the different editing software, but he seems to have found a nice little second passion.
Again, check out that Rick Carlisle podcast. Tom Crean as well with Rick. We hit on Johnny Furphy. Benedict Mather in comments too, along with, of course, Zubats. You brought up, I thought, an interesting question to Rick, and I kind of want to take it in a different direction. Maybe we can get more into this tomorrow. But you brought up the front office and the ability to, pull off this trade.
Yeah.
It is wild. Like if I said to you right now, has Kevin Pritchard been successful as the Pacers president? You would say
unequivocally yes.
Unequivocally yes. Agreed. Let me read off his first round draft picks.
Oh, yeah, I know where you're going.
It's wild. Like, yes, it is a yes. His first round picks: TJ Leaf, Aaron Holiday, Goga Batadze, Chris Duarte, Benedict Matherin, Jarris Walker, and Ben Shepherd.
But I think this goes into how we evaluate your entire GMing or your entire team presidenting, if that's a verb, because when you evaluate him, it's like, okay, you missed on this, but how have you recovered?
Sure. Again,
and I think that is a conversation to kind of tie it to another local team, the Colts. That's where the disconnect is with the Colts for me and Chris Ballard. It's like, yeah, you missed, but there is no other real things, tangible things, at least within the last 5 years, that you can hang your hat on and say, here's what I got right.
Yeah, I mean, there are other ways, clearly, to make the sausage.
Yes.
And he has found a way to...
Are you quoting the late Jim Irsay on that one?
He has found a way to execute that quite well. So it's just kind of wild, because when you think of small market team, James, you would think you've got to really hit on the draft. You're not necessarily attracting, and let's be honest, it's not like they have made their hay in free agency.
Yeah.
It's been the trade for Halliburton, obviously the trade for Siakam, and then the other ancillary stuff. Nemhard is a second round pick,
right?
Certainly a great pick, but getting Neesmith, obviously this Zubats deal, and it is kind of funny. We had a listener, John, who texted in last week of like, when this discussion got brought up, and there's been some debate about the trade.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been like a universal 100%, but John just simply stated, unlike the Colts, I trust the Pacers front office.
Yeah, they've earned that.
And like that's where the Carlisle, Carlisle, Pritchard's first round draft picks, if you want to compare it side by side to Ballard, there's probably not that much of a difference.
No, I mean, a few of the guys you named aren't even in the NBA anymore. I don't think Chris Duarte is in the NBA currently. But again, how do you rebound? And also, I just go back to, obviously, the Tyrese Halliburton trade, because the player he is viewed as now was not the player he was viewed as back then. Back then, Sacramento had the 2-point guards, De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, and De'Aaron Fox was the supermax, player. It was not Tyrese Halliburton. And to have the foresight to bet on him, and then, again, before he made his debut as a Pacers player, Kevin Pritchard sat in the media room over at Gamers Fieldhouse and told us, we think this guy can be our Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck.
Right.
And I thought he was out of his mind. I was like, that's way too much pressure to put on a dude who's got talent, he's promising, but that funky-looking jump shot and that good personality ain't going to be enough to, revitalize this city is kind of what I was thinking. Not to say that I thought it was going to be a bad trade, but I just thought he's not going to be in the same realm as those dudes. And he has to do it for longer, but, I mean, within a couple of years, here he is leading them to within a quarter, basically, of an NBA Finals championship.
Complimented Mark to start off the segment. Incredible. He couldn't find the sausage audio there.
Oh, I've got it. I got to dig deep, though.
Unbelievable.
Is he losing the fastball a little bit?
Talking about coasting to 10 o'clock right there.
That's rare here.
I've got that one.
Thank you.
There we
Appreciate
go.
That. And, of course, shout out to the great Evan Sherrill. No fights at Riley Hospital. They drop off hundreds of cookies each
Look at that.
week.
Nice.
So we ain't getting any, Pistons, Hornets over there.
Okay.
Between Anna Lubbers and her nursemates
Like,
here.
whatever you do, make
Come
sure
on
Evan
now.
Sherrill comes out of that place clean.
Nah,
it's smelling good.
We need love over there, and certainly there is a ton of that. Thank you again to Tom Crean. Thank you to Rick Carlisle. Travis Steele, head coach of the undefeated Miami, Ohio Redhawks. He'll join us tomorrow. Everybody have a great, great Tuesday. Balmy